got a secret, can you keep?
Hello everybody, welcome to Mike's Mike. My name is Factually, Contractually and Legally Mike, and welcome to part 2 of my Pretty Little Liars plot deep dive. Look, at this point you know why you're here. I know why you're here, you know why I'm here. But do I know that I'm here? Also, I'm wearing a glove because my hand got really sweaty last time, and then everything started smelling like metal because my sweat was like mixing with the paint on the microphone. It was a whole thing, okay? We have an almost criminal amount of content to cover in this part, so we need to get cracking. But first, I wanted to mention 4 things. First thing is, thank you so much for watching and liking, commenting, and sharing part 1. It has over 1 million views. Are you kidding? That's unheard of for me. So thank you so much for supporting this ridiculousness. As you know, I've put in so much work to this, so it's cool to see that you're all enjoying it. I'm glad you are. Speaking of part 1, I'm going to give a summary of the state of affairs from the end of the first video, but if you haven't watched that, you absolutely need to watch that before watching this, otherwise none of this will make sense. And same as last time, please leave me a comment and share this video. It actually helps me out a lot. Thank you. Next thing, if you want updates on when new videos are coming out, such as part 3, final part of this series, best place to get those updates is from my Instagram, which I will link in the description. I sometimes update the community tab on YouTube, but Instagram's probably the best place. Next thing is, in part 1 I said that part 2 would have episodes 60 to 120, but plot twist, I'm also including episode 121 because 120 and 121 together form the Dollhouse Eleganza Extravaganza concept, and you'll understand why I included it. It's so important. And the last thing I wanted to mention is I have changed this slightly because I've moved the day Alison disappeared and I've put it here. Okay, let's start with a quick summary of where the plot and the characters are at the end of part 1, which was episodes 1 to 60. Part 1 ended with the Halloween train, which was a very iconic and excellent and award-winning episode. As we know, it's in my top 5 Pretty Little Lies episodes. For context, those episodes are season 2 finale, season 3 Halloween train, a particular season 4 episode, and then the 2 Dollhouse episodes, season 5 finale and season 6 premiere. Guys, the Dollhouse is just Oscars, Grammys, BAFTAs, Tonys, Grand Slams, Olympics, like the whole lot. Okay, here we go, wish me luck. Alison D. Swag Renters. Last sighting of Alison was her body bag on the Halloween train under the drinks. I actually mentally put an asterisk at the end of that sentence, and maybe you didn't pick up on that, you should be paying attention. But the asterisk is because at the end of the Halloween train episode, we see a little flashback vibe to Alison's hand coming out of the dirt in the gazebo in the De Laurentiis yard. What does it mean? We're going to find out. Next we have Kenneth De Laurentiis, Alison's father. He's largely a cringe flop. He hasn't really added anything to the narrative thus far, except he looks like the eagle from the Muppets. Not a drag, just an observation. Alison's mother, Jessica De Laurentiis. As we know, she had an affair with Peter Hastings, and the fruits of that venture was Jason De Laurentiis, who oscillates between shady and friendly with a frightening frequency. Jason is the half-brother of Spencer Hastings, Melissa Hastings, and Alison De Laurentiis. Now, Jason was a part of the NAT Club, an absolutely disgusting situation involving Jason, Ian, Garrett, and I think maybe Melissa and Jenna adjacent. And the NAT Club, basically what they did was film underage girls getting changed and also them kissing people. So that's just fucked, isn't it? He also dated CeCe Drake for an intense summer. LOL. LOL, LOL. LOL, more on that later. Jason was last seen on the Halloween train acting suspicious. Peter Hastings and Veronica Hastings are the parents of Spencer Hastings. Now, every sentence that Peter Hastings says is either, everything I did for this family, or stay away from the De Laurentiis family, they are bad news. Also, fun fact, the guy who plays Peter Hastings is the voice of Nathan Drake in Uncharted. Veronica is like the only lawyer in Rosewood, and it feels like at some point in the show she represents literally everyone on this board, so that's fun. Her most recent venture was getting Garrett off. Trial for the murders of Alison De Laurentiis and Maya St. Germain. Spencer Hastings, last seen on the Halloween train, nearly getting strangled to death by the Queen of Hearts, saved by one Paige McCullers. Also on the Halloween train, Garrett tells Spencer that the night that Alison went missing, he saw Alison talking to one Byron Montgomery. So that means at the end of episode 60, Byron is suspect number 1 for the murder of Alison De Laurentiis. At the end of episode 59, it is revealed that Toby is part of the A-Team. Remember, Mona is talking to him and she says, even the best laid plans go awry. Jenna, she's always in the trenches. Most recently, she was nearly murdered by Mona in season 2 because Mona lured her into the Dillarenters' house and then lit the house on fire. Also on the Halloween Train episode, it is revealed during a flashback that Jenna had an argument with Allison the night Allison disappeared, and Garrett was there and Jenna told Garrett to do something. Garrett swings on Allison with a hockey stick and hits a tree. Jenna thinks that Garrett has murdered Allison with a hockey stick. There you go. Melissa Hastings. Whew, my back's aching, my bra's too tight. Look, where were we with her? The most recent development was that she lied about her miscarriage date and she was blackmailed by Mona to go to the masquerade ball at the end of season 2 to distract Jenna, and for fucking what? We never found out. As you can see by this X, Ian Thomas is dead. He was pushed off the bell tower in the season finale of season 1 by someone in a black hoodie. Now in my notes, I wrote goodie. My goodies. My goodies. Garrett is also dead, killed on the Halloween train, presumably by the Queen of Hearts, and put in a box next to Arya, who was drugged by the Queen of Hearts. Da-da-da-da-dum. So right there is 2 of 3 NAT members dead, buried, and gone. Ren Kingston. Look, I'm going to say it. Ren Kingston is the hottest person in Rosewood. I said it. Maybe it's the accent. I don't know. Most recently, he's been working with Mona because Mona was in Radley after, the whole thing with being A at the end of season 2. And he also kissed Hannah 11 episodes after kissing Spencer. Emily Fields killed Nate St. Germain / Lyndon James at the end of episode 59 after it was revealed that he killed Maya St. Germain, tried to kill Emily, tried to kill Paige McCullers, and tried to kill Caleb Rivers, right? He was booked and busy. Pam Fields went from hating the gays to being the president of the Frankie Grande Appreciation Club. Wayne Fields is in the army. Yes, he is a BTS stan. Paige was nearly murdered in episode 59 and then saved Spencer from being murdered in episode 60 on the Halloween train. Maya died in episode 47, murdered by Nate St. Germain / Lyndon James. We don't know who the Queen of Hearts is at this point. The first iteration of Stalker A was Mona Vanderwaal, revealed at the end of season 2. We don't really know much about the new iteration of A other than they took the game over after Mona was admitted to Radley. Hannah Marin, the last plot point involving Hannah was Halloween Train, and she kisses someone who she thinks is Caleb because Caleb was wearing Phantom of the Opera mask, but it turns out the person takes off the Phantom of the Opera mask to reveal Alison to the Renter's mask. Yeah. Exactly. Turns out it was Mona who had escaped from Radley to go on the Halloween train. Lucas was revealed to be on the A team. I think he's the one that drugged Emily on grave digging night and also took the photos of them at the grave. I think the reason why he was on there was something like Mona found out that he was selling test answers, so then she blackmailed him into being on the A team. There is a plot hole here because apparently she recruited him for the masquerade ball when in actual fact he also supposedly gave Emily a massage in season 2. So, but we live and we learn and we forget. But do we? Ashley is dating Pastor Ted. Caleb was injured trying to protect Emily from Nate. Kim Lip from Luna. Good for her. Darren Wilden, most recently spotted visiting Mona in Radley. That's suspicious. That's weird. We last saw Dr. Sullivan diagnosing Mona with a personality disorder in the season 2 finale. On the Halloween train, Miss Aria Montgomery, she was drugged by the Queen of Hearts while talking to Adam Lambert. None of this is a lie. She was put in a box next to Garrett's dead body and nearly died when they tried to push the box out of the moving train. There were 2 people involved with pushing the box, a man and a woman, and it sounded like the woman was telling the man to push the box out of the train. Also, key detail, in the box, Arya stabs a screwdriver through the box and into the man's leg. Predatezra has been jumping around the plot, just generally being a menace. I think the most recent plot point for him was that he found out he has a 7-year-old son with Maggie, and Diane, his mother, paid Maggie to disappear. Also, Diane hates Arya because she is underage and she is poor. Arya's brother Mike was robbing houses in season 2 and punched Ezra in like episode 36-ish, I think, so good for him. Noel was last seen on the Halloween train acting suspicious as per usual. Arya's parents, Ella and Byron, are divorced now, and then in episode 60, it was revealed that Byron saw Allison the night she disappeared, and Alison was blackmailing Byron over his affair with Meredith. Vivian was one of Alison's alter egos. She doesn't really have any relevance beyond season 2, but every day I fight the bad thoughts that come in my head as a result of that demonic wig. And finally, Cece Drake. Cece was introduced in episode 54 as Alison's friend and Jason's ex. Cece was last seen in episode 58 where Spencer and Hannah are helping her out at the store Cece works at, and Spencer gets locked in a change room with a live snake, and Cece opens the door and whacks the snake with a mannequin leg. So that's good too. Good for her. Good for everyone. So that's the state of affairs by the end of episode 60. Let's now get stuck into season 3B. Quick note that the next 48-ish episodes all happen in the space of a month and a half, which is just super fun when you see how much insane shit goes down. So for the next 48 episodes, I just want you to remember this all happens in the space of 6 weeks. Also, we know it's a month and a half because the season 5 holiday special is Christmas themed. It's also a mess, but we'll get to that. And the season 3 holiday special was Halloween themed. And in season 3, 4, and 5, the girls are still in senior year. So by logical deduction, it means that the next 48 episodes are in 6 weeks. Okay, episode 61, titled She's Better Now. Now, she is Mona, and Mona is back at school. It's so fun because Mona's way of telling Hannah that she's better is by breaking into Hannah's house at like 3 a.m. and telling Hannah, I'm better now, and I'm going back to school. Completely normal behavior. Also, we know Mona's up to some shit because she tells Hannah that her parents are forcing her to go back to school, and we find out that she actually begged them to let her go back to school. There's also a bunch of black hoodie scenes at the start of this episode. We have Lucas skateboarding through town. He truly does not look like a skateboarder, but neither do I, and I see that in my future. He gets chased down and nearly run over by someone in a black hoodie driving a car, and it turns out to be Toby driving the car. A team member going after a team member, giving very much cannibal. In the wake of Garrett's murder, Emily's dad, Wayne, has installed a super high-tech security system that tells him every time someone opens a window. I'm only mentioning this because the way that the security system is introduced implies that it's going to be important to the plot. But by 2 episodes later, Emily has every possible window open and there's nary an alert. Also on the subject of privacy and security, no one in Rosewood knows how to shut a blind or shut a window. About 5 people have been murdered in this small town in the last 18 months, and the public response is to just go, oh no. Anyway, remember how I said that Garrett told Spencer that he saw Byron talking to Alison the night she disappeared? Well, the girls are like, Aria, you need to talk to Byron to work out what the fuck's going on here. And she's just straight up like, I don't believe Garrett. He's talking shit, he's talking smack. And I love this because literally, why would Garrett lie? Of all the people in Rosewood to throw under the bus, why would he throw your irrelevant dad under the bus? Like, I'm sorry, Aria, but your dad is not nearly interesting or important enough for that. With Mona back at school, the girls are unsure if they can trust her, but they decide it's better to have her on side and they can interrogate her and work out who Big A is and also get information about the Halloween train. In episode 61, someone sticks a cow brain in Mona's locker with the note, it takes one mad cow to know another. Lucas is limping around the school. Now, could this be from being stabbed in the leg by a screwdriver on the Halloween train? No. He later tells Hannah it's from a skateboarding injury, and we know this is true because we see Toby nearly running him over at the start of the episode. Now, you're probably wondering, isn't Mona a literal criminal? How is she back at school, first of all? And why isn't everyone gunning for her? Apparently Mona didn't face criminal charges thanks to the diagnosis that Dr. Sullivan gave her, so she had to go to Radley until she was better, which apparently is from this episode onwards. And she wins over public opinion by uploading a video telling everyone how she was bullied for years and snapped, and now she's better and everyone's back on her side. I mean, now that I think about it, it is kind of like a YouTuber apology video. We see Mona helping Jason with a bloody wound in his side. Could this be an injury from a screwdriver on the Halloween train? No. But also, we never find out what this injury is. Truly, Season 3B is a mess. At school, we find out that the girl's new teacher is none other than Meredith, the woman that Byron cheated on Ella with. I'm going to summarize a 4-episode plot here because I want to spare you the details, and it is so bad. We just need to get it over and done with. There is a 10K running event. Meredith is set on fire, and she and Byron assume Aria is responsible. It was actually Lucas doing it to scare Mona. Aria thinks that A did it and tells Spencer this on the phone while Byron is listening. So this means that Byron knows that A is back beyond Mona in season 2. And what does he do about it? Fucking nothing. He does nothing. He finds out that the psycho stalker is back and he does nothing. Arya gets sick and Meredith is being really nice to her and looking after her since Byron is out of town for some fucking reason. She's giving her a special herbal tea to make her feel better. It turns out that Meredith is drugging Arya with this special herbal tea. She's putting sleep medication in it. While drugged up, Arya gets a visit from Allison, the usual, am I hallucinating or not? There is an interesting conversation here during the hallucination. Arya asks Allison if Byron killed her, and Allison says, do I look dead to you? And before leaving also says, you know why I picked you, right? What was the reason? What was the reason? Actually, in a season 5 episode, Mona tells Arya that she was picked by Allison because she is compassionate. That is so lame. Are you joking? Just on Arya before I forget, she is a terrible friend. But more on that, season 5, episode 9. So Emily and Hannah go to check up on Arya because she's not returning their messages. Meredith stole her phone. Of fucking course she did. Meredith locks the three of them in the basement. Byron turns up just in time and also tells Arya what happened the night that Allison disappeared. He explains that he had nothing to do with Allison's death, and that conversation that he had with Allison was Allison demanding money for blackmail and Byron saying, no, I'm not doing this anymore. He also says that after the argument, he saw Melissa Hastings come out of a house. So now Melissa Hastings is back to being suspect number 1. After drugging her boyfriend's daughter, Meredith leaves town or some shit. I honestly hate that plotline so much. It's so bad. Anyway, Mona has joined the academic decathlon team and she's running directly against Spencer for team captain. I really like what they did to Mona's character post Radley. We knew that she had to have been super smart to pull off all the A shit. And now that she's better, she's like this iconic, menacingly intelligent sociopath who also dresses really well. I love her. She beats Spencer in a quiz off and becomes the academic decathlon captain. Good for her, I say. Now, it appears that Mona is playing double agent, because while we get these scenes of her pretending to be normal at school, there are also scenes of her in A's new lair with Toby plotting something big. But the big difference here is she's very clearly working for someone as opposed to working for herself like in season 1 and 2. At the end of episode 63, Spencer finds out that Toby's on the A team. It's about to get bad for Spencer. Mind you, Troyan, who plays Spencer, was truly in her Oscars bag in season 3B. In episode 17 of season 3, Emily gets a package from Nate St. Germain's parents. Remember, Nate killed Maya and Emily killed Nate. In the package are Emily's letters to Allison and also Allison's biology notebook. I think Nate had these because Maya had them because she was living in the De Laurentiis house and they would have just been lying around. And then when Nate stole a bunch of Maya's stuff, he took those. I'm mentioning this because the biology notebook actually ends up being quite important. Also, quick question. There truly does not seem to be enough police activity happening regarding a literal body bag being under the drinks on the Halloween train. Like, I don't know, call me crazy, but I would say that a body being dug up and then that body turning up under the drinks seems like a big deal. Okay, back to the biology notebook. In the notebook, Emily finds little messages from Allison written in there talking about a beach hottie. So now beach hottie is a person of interest, even though they don't know who it is yet. Also in the notebook, there is a picture of Cece and Allison on a boat together in Cape May. Emily asks Cece about Beach Hottie, and Cece says that while she doesn't know exactly who Beach Hottie is, Cece tells her that that summer Allison told her she thought she was pregnant and he's gonna kill me. Later in the episode, at the police station, Emily and Hannah see a picture of Darren Wilden on a boat in Cape May. Dun, dun, dun. Also in episode 17, we get a flashback of Allison visiting Toby in prison, and we are gifted with Durag Toby. What the actual fuck? This screenshot, I would say, is a piece of art on the same level as the crusty Vivian Darkbloom wig and Allison at Halloween 2008. In the flashback, Allison thinks that Toby is sending her the A text while Jenna is in eye hospital after she blinded her, and Toby's like, no. He says it's not him, but he also says he wishes he knew who it was so that he could thank them. Interesting. Does this mean that Toby was aware of A before A started sending girls the text messages? So when Mona was revealed as A, wouldn't that mean that he, by proxy, knew about this situation? Like, why wasn't he more understanding or just involved at all? because he's crusty and dumb, probably. In the same episode as Durag Toby, you know, that's all I could think about. But there was lots of other things going on. Arya is going to tell Ezra about his secret 7-year-old son, Malcolm, but Spencer accidentally tells him and Ezra gets mad that Arya didn't tell him. And then he leaves town to meet his son. So they kind of break up or whatever. And I just don't care. Insufferable. I think in season 3, Arya might be 17 and Ezra's like 26 or 27. So that means the age gap between Arya and Ezra is almost the same as the age gap between Arya and Malcolm. Hello. Also in this episode, we're introduced to a new character, Shana. Paige is talking to Shana in a lesbian bar. And we find out in the next episode that this is because Shana works at the Rosewood costume shop and Paige is trying to work out who bought the Queen of Hearts costume. Remember, Queen of Hearts tried to kill Spencer, killed Garrett, and drugged Arya. Yas, Queen of Hearts. In episode 18, Caleb meets his uncle, who is actually his dad. Emily does hypnotherapy with Dr. Sullivan. And Spencer vandalizes Toby's mum's grave. Episode 19, Spencer is starting to crack. She hasn't told anyone about the Toby A-Team situation. She's like not sleeping. She's snapping at everyone. Snapping. I love that song. But yeah, she's not sleeping properly and she's not studying. She's getting bad grades. The rest of the squad's like, right, we need to work out what's happening to our bestie Spencer. Spencer gets an A message in a pair of glasses. Is it ridiculous and stupid? Yes. But do we need to recognize A's creativity? Yes. Spencer does a strip studying session with academic decathlon teammate Andrew. Yes! Let's do a quick rundown on Andrew Campbell because this is the first time that I'm speaking about him. He's very smart, he's friends with Spencer, he's very flirty, and he later gives Spencer ADHD medication as a treat. Emily and Jason are talking about the possibility of Allison and Wilden being together in Cape May that summer, and the possibility of Allison being pregnant. Jason says that Ali gave her dad a picture of Ali, Cece, and Wilden together on a boat, which implies that Cece knows more than what she's telling everyone. So they go to try and find this picture from Kenneth's new apartment. This next part is very messy. Jason tells Emily that he remembers seeing Melissa and Cece talking outside of his house the night Allison disappeared, and that Cece was wearing an identical outfit to Allison, aka the crusty yellow top. Literally name a Rosewood citizen that was not there the night that Allison disappeared. Just you wait. In season 4, when we find out these like missing cards that I've put here, and there's other cards that I'm going to put on there, you're going to scream. Deep breaths. Okay. As Jason and Emily are leaving Kenneth's apartment, the lights start flickering and the elevator starts bugging out. Jason manages to hold the doors open so Emily can jump out to safety, and then the doors slam shut and the elevator falls down the elevator shaft with Jason in it. So Jason fell down an elevator shaft, like multiple floors. Later, he's in hospital with a neck brace, and then the next scene is that he's run away from the hospital, and they're like, where is Jason? Bitch, you tell me, where the fuck is Jason? Running off with a neck brace? Are you injured or not? Now, viewer, I hope you're not too invested in the fact that Jason just fell multiple floors down the elevator shaft, because we never hear about it again. Messy. Also, Arya kisses Wesley. For episode 20, I wrote in my notes, ridiculous episode, and there's truly just so much chaotic shit going on. Hannah and Ashley see Wilden push Cece into a police car. Paige is in her car typing Rosewood costume store into fucking Bing on her car's touchscreen. Emily and Hannah see Paige binging in the car and decide to go with her. At the costume store, Shana is giving them absolutely nothing, right? She's giving them crickets. So their plan is to get Hannah and Paige to distract Shana while Emily hacks the computer system and emails herself the credit card purchase information. The goal is that they would then give this to Caleb, who would trace the credit card that bought the Queen of Hearts costume so they can work out who the Queen of Hearts is. But this plotline dies on the spot. It's never brought up again. So these like costume store plot lines are just useless and pointless. We do, however, get the amazing breathtaking scene of the phone ringing at the costume store and Shana answering and literally just saying, costumes. Next thing, in the same episode that Hannah and Ashley saw Wilden putting Cece in the car and Wilden saw them see him, he pulls Ashley over and asks Ashley O, hey, I'm a hoe. I'm on a roll. He pulls Ashley over and asks if she's been drinking, but he's really there to threaten her and Hannah into silence of the beach hottie mess. He tells Ashley that if she doesn't shut Hannah up, he will. and he reaches for his gun, and Ashley runs him over. Yes, everyone, you heard me correctly. Did you have parent runs over a policeman on your PLL bingo card? Or maybe just someone gets run over. That's actually the third time someone's been run over. Like, it's truly just giving Simpsons hit and run at this point. Now, speaking of hit and run, that's what Ashley does. She runs him over and she drives off. Emily goes to Cece's apartment to ask her more questions post elevatification, and Cece says that she has to leave Rosewood fast because Wilden is threatening her, and she thought Wilden got Allie pregnant and killed her to keep it a secret, but she's not sure if it's true or not. Now that confusing Jason thing is back. Emily asks Cece about Jason's memory. Cece says that Allie called her that night and was stressing about the videos that everyone was hounding her for, especially Melissa. So this is the NAT videos. And when Cece turned up at Allison's house, Melissa begged her to talk to Allie, and she did, and then Allie went missing. Got all that? Cece also tells Emily that the person who took the picture of Cece, Wilden, and Allie on the boat is Melissa Hastings. Mess. It's so hard to tell what's real and what people are lying about, which I guess maybe is the point of the show. Because if what Jason saw was real and did happen, then why was Cece wearing the crusty yellow top? Now, if you think this episode has reached peak ridiculousness, you are absolutely incorrect. Spencer is in her sauna. The sauna gets hacked. A locks her in the hacked sauna. Spencer nearly dies from being too hot in the locked hacked sauna. Now tell me why sauna and shauna are too close. Yes, you heard me correctly. Spencer gets locked in her hacked sauna. This is definitely up there with my favorite unrealistic A antics, next to, I would say, the elevator situation and Caleb getting locked in a fucking kiln in season 5. Ashley tells Hannah that she may have killed Wilden, and they go back to the scene and the car is there but he's gone, and we can see that the car's dash cam has recorded the entire incident. Wow, okay, we can't take time to digest that because we have to move on. Spencer tells the girls that Toby is A. Emily does some digging in Toby's apartment and finds a Radley pass under the name Eddie Lamb. Dun dun dun! More on Eddie later. Ezra is unfortunately back and he's in full dad mode for this random 7-year-old, and Arya's like, it's getting weird. Hannah finds Wilden's abandoned police car in her garage, freaks out, calls Arya, and together they push Wilden's car into the lake, sinking it. Oh god, this plotline. Okay. Spencer is on the Toby trail and sees Mona get a phone call saying, "I'm on my way." So she follows Mona to the woods, loses her, and finds a body on the ground with a helmet on and Toby's 901 Free at Last tattoo. She's about to lift the helmet and she hears Mona say, "He's dead." So she tries to chase her through the woods, but she gets lost. So now Spencer thinks that Toby is dead. He's not actually dead though, and we find that out soon enough. We find out that Mona set it up so that Spencer would think that Toby's dead, and I'm not 100% sure why Mona did this. I'm not really sure how it fits into her grand plan, but I think it's so that Spencer stops following the Toby A team trail. At the end of the episode, we find out from the police that a hiker found a confused woman walking around lost in the woods, and she's been admitted to Radley, and that woman is Spencer. Now, Troyan is acting at the end of season 3. She's truly in her Oscars bag. She's truly selling the "my boyfriend is a psychotic stalker" to "I'm getting admitted to Radley because I found his dead body in the woods" pipeline. Episode 22. Wilden has reappeared in Rosewood, and Hannah and Ashley are truly gagged. Truly gooped and gagged, right? He tells them that he took a couple of days off. "I took some time off to rest, but now it's game time, bitches." Ashley has a conference in New York and doesn't want to go, but Hannah convinces her it's a good idea to get out of Rosewood considering everything going down, and that she'll go stay with Emily. Speaking of Emily, Shana introduces Emily to a literal Olympian. Girl, why are you in this episode? Dr. Sullivan sees Spencer and Radley. She's like, girl, what the fuck is going on here? She also tells Spencer that the body is not Toby's. In Radley, Spencer talks to nurse Eddie Lamb about how Toby had an Eddie pass, and he says that there were problems with stolen badges and visitor passes that were traced back to someone on the staff. He doesn't explicitly say who it is, but it's implied that he's talking about dun 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 Ren. At school, the girls now know about Spencer being in Radley, and they run into a bitchy Mona in the bathroom, And Arya says to Mona, if Spencer doesn't get better and she doesn't get out of Radley, you're going to wish you broke your neck when you fell off that cliff. This is a fun little thing that will come back in a couple of seasons' time, so just remember it. Mona visits Spencer in Radley and implies that Toby isn't dead and that Alison was never pregnant, and she knows this because she has all of Allie's diaries and she has the answers to questions that Spencer hasn't even thought of yet. One word. Could be two with a hyphen. Girl boss. Now this is when Mona offers Spencer a second chance to join the A-Team, right? The first time was at the end of season 2 when they're driving and she offers Spencer on the spot in the A-Team. Spencer's like, absolutely fucking not. So she offers her a second attempt to get on the A-Team and Spencer accepts. She does this so that she can find out more Toby information. At the end of episode 22 of season 3, we find out that the new A-Lair is actually an RV, so they can drive it around. It's mobile. Actually, such a great idea. Good job, A-Team. Also, quick side note, something that I noticed in this show is when someone is going through it, they put a robe on. You're in Radley, put a robe on. You just ran over a policeman, put a robe on. The rest of the gyals decide that they need to prove to Spencer that the body in the woods isn't Toby. And the way that they plan on doing this is by breaking into the morgue and taking pictures of the body. Excuse me while I go off screen and scream. Like, go to school, oh my god. While doing such activities, Arya sees Redcoat and tries to catch her, but she escapes as per usual. I have a question for Redcoat. First name Red, last name Coat. Is the redness giving what you thought it gave? A, running around with the black hood on. Makes sense. You're trying to be inconspicuous. Redcoat running around with a red coat, that doesn't seem like the best option logistically for being sneaky. Like, she really thought she did something. You want to be Miss Princess of Espionage so bad, but you have the most easy to spot uniform? Anyway, they find the body and it's not Toby, but it's whoa crazy because when they unzip the body bag, the body is wearing a mask. Later, Arya is supposed to pick up Malcolm from karate practice. Yay, I love this plotline. It turns out an A-Team member picked him up pretending to be Allison and took him to a fair where Arya finds him again. We find out later that the A-Team member is Spencer, who worked out how to escape Bradley because she found the board game that Mona had etched prison escape instructions onto. Sure. Back in Radley, Spencer finds a visitor pass for Cece Drake authorized by Ren Kingston. Why is Cece trying to get into Radley and why is Ren approving it? According to Ren, he thought that Cece would have been a good role model for Mona because apparently Allison got Cece kicked out of university and Cece got over it and she could teach Mona how to get over what she was feeling towards Allison and her friends for all those years of bullying. He also says that Melissa apparently told Cece that Mona was in Radley. Now, the integration of Melissa into the Cece scenes and plot lines just drives me up the wall. Hannah is stressing out about the car in the lake and Emily says, cars don't float. If they did, pilgrims would have driven here. Okay, we have arrived at the season 3 finale, episode 71, titled A Dangerous Game. I usually like the finale plots and cliffhangers, but I do not like this one. It's so convoluted and confusing and not in a way that adds an interesting aspect to the plot. It feels like the writers are trying to explain off sections of this episode for the next 2 seasons. Start of the episode, we have Spencer officially out of Radley, and her parents are like, yay, let's throw a Spencer is out of the sanitarium party. Next minute, she's in the ARV with Mona plotting. Jumping ahead a little bit here, but Spencer is only on the A-Team for like 2 episodes, and that's it. But I wish they'd explored it further because it could have been really interesting. That's why I didn't put the A on there. I should probably take this off now as well because we know that Toby's not dead. Jenna is back, and she's acting shady as per usual, and she meets up with Costumes Shana in a park. They're very lovey-dovey, so it's implied that they are together. Now, Jenna says to Shana they will all be there Friday, and that she knows what she needs to do. Now this situation is very similar to the season 2 finale where Jenna meets someone in the park, but we didn't know who, but now we know it's Shana, but it makes even less sense what happens at the masquerade ball if we know that the person she was talking to was Shana. Do you see why this episode's annoying me? And we're barely 10 minutes in at this point. Jenna also tells Shana that she might be going blind again because there was something wrong with the surgery. That truly does suck for Jenna, but as we know, she's 10 times more threatening and shady Thanos vibes when she's blind, so. Spencer finally says that Toby is alive at a little A-Team meeting between the two, and she says she joined to find out if he was alive when he was doing blah 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 blah. He says everything he did was to protect her. Flop. Flop, 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 flop. I think we as a society can agree that Toby is a flop and Spencer should have ended up with Andrew. Now hold on to your horses because it's going to get terrible. Emily sees Melissa, Shana and Jenna arguing in Jenna's house, and Jenna says to Melissa, they have the tapes. Those bitches will be at the lodge at 9. I can feel my brain drying up and starting to splinter like a piece of bark at this point. Truly, while rewatching this, I felt like SpongeBob when he goes out of the water. The girls, Hannah, Aria and Emily, work out that Spencer is on the A-team. Spencer explains that the party is a setup, talking about the sanitarium release party, is a setup to trap Redcoat so they find out who she is. Also, the fucking party's at a lodge. I need to breathe. Mona is at the lodge with Toby and Spencer, but Spencer and Toby are playing double agent, telling Mona that the girls are running late when actually they're already sneaking in. Mona sends Toby and Spencer out of the lodge, and unbeknownst to her, they start looking for Redcoat, who is arriving by plane. Inside the lodge, Hannah, Aria and Emily confront Mona, and someone locks the building from the outside and sets it on fire. Death drop. The girls are like, Mona, who the fuck is Redcoat? They don't actually swear in the show, but I wish they would. Mona says to them, listen here, uglies, I don't know who Redcoat is, and she also tells them that the reason she's been doing all this shit to them again is because she wants to work out who Redcoat is, and that Redcoat took them from her when Mona went to Radley. In the woods, Toby sees someone running around with the black hood on, dun, 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 and then he's knocked out, and that person throws a lighter on the ground next to him to make it look like he lit the lodge on fire. Spencer sees a woman in a red coat get off the plane and walk through the woods, and she thinks it is Allison. The lodge is fully on fucking fire at this point. The girls are in there like, there's no oxygen, let me faint real quick. They get pulled out of the lodge. By who? Hannah gains consciousness and sees that the person that pulled her out is Allison. Huh? Mona comes over and asks if anyone else saw Allison. So that's 3 Allison eyewitnesses. On the drive back to Rosewood, Mona tells the girls that she was present on grave digging night, remember season 3 episode 1, as well as Redcoat, but Redcoat was wearing an Allison mask, so she doesn't know who Redcoat is. When they arrive in Rosewood, they see that Wilden's car is in the town centre. This is the same car that Hannah and Aria pushed into a lake a few episodes ago. Now get this. The car is playing the dashcam recording of Ashley running Wilden over, but also shows that Jenna and Shana picked up Wilden and helped carry him away. This is my purgatory. What fucking business do Jenna and Shana have helping Wilden post Ashley hit and run? It truly makes no sense. And then the girls, including Mona, get an iconic A text with red font. You're mine now, kisses A, and they discover a dead pig in the trunk of the police car. Now the final scene of the finale is a doozy. We see Allison's hand reaching out of the dirt, which we saw in the Halloween Train episode, but this time someone grabs the hand and starts pulling. That little scene to end the episode is truly iconic, I'll give them that. Now at this point I have one question, right? You might think I'd have several. Such as, what the fuck did Jenna, Shana and Melissa do at the lodge? Who lit the lodge fire? What happened with the costumes, credit card information? But no, my question is, who is the Queen of Hearts? Because we don't know that yet. Anyway, the red A text is just so iconic. Not very accessible though. What if one of the girls was red-green colorblind and they got the text and they're like, so what fucking color is this? So I like the concept Redcoat, but not very inclusive. Also on Redcoat, the implication that Allison is Redcoat and pulled them out of the fire doesn't really match with all the other Redcoat shenanigans. So it implies that there are 2 Redcoats. Samina mina waka waka. Also fun fact, that season 3 finale had the song Ride by Lana Del Rey, like high budget, I see you. But make no mistake, that finale was a mess. Truly a mess. The worst finale so far. Alright, it's time for me to put season 4 up. There's only 2 types of people in the world. The ones that entertain and the ones that observe. Love a better and a sweet. Alrighty girls, welcome to the season 4 discussion. So as you can see on the board, we have the yellow lines which indicate season 4. Now the yellow was a choice, choices were made. And a choice was made when I put this Minions t-shirt on. Let me explain. I went to Uniqlo with the express venture of finding a yellow top for this season. Tell me why the only yellow top I could find was fucking Minions merch. It's actually Universal Studios merch, but I spun it around because there's a Minion eye on the back and I thought that would actually add a lot. Yes, I am standing here with my Alice into the Renter's wig, a skiing glove, and my Minions merch. What's the issue? When will Ariana? Season 4 is one of the highest rated seasons of the entire show, And for good reason, especially after the mess that was season 3. Season 4 is fantastic. There are some truly iconic episodes in this season, but also some of the worst plot lines that I've ever had the displeasure of experiencing, and yes, I have seen the Gossip Girl reboot. But overall, genuinely a fantastic season of TV, and we're going to get stuck straight into it. The season 4 premiere is titled A is for Alive, and I gotta say, Marlene, great job with the titling. Very fancy, very fun, everyone snaps for Marlene. This episode picks up immediately after the season 3 finale, so the girls have just found the dead pig in the back of Wilden's car. Mona is now one of the girls, capital T, capital G. She gets straight to work removing the hard drive from Wilden's car. This hard drive has footage of Ashley running Wilden over, so by removing it, they're hoping the police don't get it, and later in the episode, Mona gives the hard drive to Hannah. In this episode, the girls interrogate Mona because they're not sure if they can trust her, and Mona says, you know what, Reddit AMA, ask me anything. So they truly do, and she gives a lot of answers, such as, she didn't get the car out of the lake, she didn't push Ian off the bell tower, she didn't give Emily the massage, as we know it was Lucas, but it's a whole plot hole, so we don't need to talk about it. She says Jenna knew Shana before Shana turned up in Rosewood. That's not true, we find that out in season 5, so either Mona's lying or Marlene's lying to us. You choose your own adventure. And she also says that Shana and Jenna are scared of Melissa. For what and why? There's a great scene of all 5 of the girls going to stay at Spencer's, and the 4 of them wake up and Mona's not there, and they're like, Mona has disappeared again. Where is she? But then she comes through the door with their coffee orders, and she's like, soy latte, vanilla shot for Aria, and gives them all their coffee orders, and they're like, what the fuck? She's like, remember, I was your fucking stalker for 2 years. And she's like, by the way, Em, I took your car. And Emily's like, but my keys are here. And Mona's like, yeah, I have my own set. And just proves how fucking far behind they were when Mona was A. Like, she was running circles around them. She had copies of all their keys. Mona tells the girls that together they're going to work out who Redcoat is, and she takes them to the new RV A lair because she no longer has anything to hide. On the way to the RV, they drive past Wilden's car in the town, but now there's tons of police around, and Wilden's dead body is on the ground next to the car. Now, everyone take a breath, because this is just the beginning. Do we miss him? Clap if you miss him. Right, everyone pay attention because this is important. At the RV, Mona shows footage from the Halloween train that reveals that there were 2 Queens of Hearts, and the 2 people were Wilden and Melissa. Now, this revelation makes so little sense that it almost makes negative sense, but more on that in a second. Mona and Hannah lock up the RV in a secret location so they can do more redcoat digging later. Toby gets an A text that says, I know what happened to your mum. Bring the lair and you'll know too. Kisses A. And he just does that. Like, he gives the lair to A. Are you kidding me? Toby is so fucking annoying. I mean, as we know, I already don't like Toby, but he's extra frustrating this season. I get that he wants to find out what happened to his mum, but he puts everyone, including his girlfriend that he's apparently madly in love with, at risk so that he can trade information with their stalker. There's a flashback of Allison flirting with Toby in his bedroom. I think this is like 2008 vibes. And his mother walks in and she's clearly not well. Toby says he's worried about her, and Allison says his mum is just lazy. Fucking Allison. I know you want to kiss me. This is Toby's mum, Marion, here. Marion rhymes with carrion. Pigeon. Luggage. Jessica De Laurentiis is back in town. Also, Ezra and Aria break up for the 701st time. Ezra has been offered a permanent job at Rosewood High. There's a scene where Aria daydreams that the vice principal discovers her and Ezra had SE eggs, and Ezra gets arrested in the school hallway, but unfortunately this is just a daydream. You deserve prison, sir. Jenna turns up at Emily's house and they're talking about Wilden, and she says that Wilden was her friend ever since she came to Rosewood. I'm not gagging. That was just pulled out of fucking nowhere. I guess to explain why Shana and Jenna helped Wilden after he got run over by Ashley. At Wilden's funeral, we see a mysterious woman in a black veil, henceforth referred to as Black Widow. I'm a Black Widow, baby. Also at Wilden's funeral, Spencer finds Ashley's phone in Wilden's casket, suggesting that A is going to frame her for Wilden's death. After the funeral, we meet another new character, Detective Gabriel Holbrook, who has been tasked by the state police to investigate the murders of Garrett and Wilden. So here we go, Mr. Sir Gabriel Holbrook. In the next episode, we meet his partner in crime, Lieutenant Linda Tanner. Now, Linda, she does get slay points. Slay what you wanna slay. The A scene at the end of the premiere is Black Widow in another lair, not the RV, adding a Mona doll to the main 4, and we see her pull her veil off to reveal a burnt Allison mask, implying Black Widow was involved with the dumb plot black hole that was the lodge fire. I think what they're going for here is suggesting that Black Widow is Redcoat and was wearing an Allison mask at the fire, which is why the girls thought they saw Allison. In episode 2, Mona takes the girls back to the RV to further get their trust, but the RV is gone because idiot flop Toby told A where it was for Marion information, and when Mona gets back in her car, she's attacked by A and nearly strangled to death. Da-da-da-da-dum. So Mona is officially off the A-team, I guess. And now that I think about it, so is Toby and Spencer. So all 3 of them are off the A-team, so who the fuck is on the A-team now? They have no members, they need to do a recruitment drive, maybe go to a university. And we just found out that Wilden was on the A-team, but now he's dead. They should offer like a signing bonus. I would do it. Mona gets out of the car, in which A was trying to strangle her to death, and A tries to run her and Arya over, but Emily knocks them out of the way and falls on a rock, severely damaging her shoulder. Now I think this actually ruined Emily's life because her shoulder was fucked, so she couldn't swim properly, so she couldn't get a swimming scholarship. Hannah discovers Ashley's muddy high heel shoes and a toothbrush for cleaning them stashed in a bag under the sink, and she gets suspicious because Ashley was supposedly in New York for a conference when Wilden died, but was she actually? Arya meets her next boyfriend, Jake. He's Mr. Karate Man. He likes to kick things. Can you go kick Ezra, please? Thank you, sir. We also meet a new character, and dare I say, this is my favorite character in the show. No, that's a lie. Top 3. Tippy the fucking bird. Jessica introduces Hannah to Tippy. Now Tippy is an icon. Tippy is Allison's grandma's bird, and apparently Allison spent a lot of time with Tippy in Georgia during that summer that she disappeared. Jessica gives Tippy to Hannah. Since the lodge fire, Hannah is starting to think that Allison isn't actually dead. I mean, she's right here, talking in this video, wearing minion merch. So she asks Jessica if she actually ever saw Allison's body. Now this is interesting because Jessica says seeing the blouse was enough to identify her body. Interesting. But then the police just don't follow up. They're like, okay, if you say so, lady. Mona is trying to find info on Wilden's death and finds out there were 2 pairs of footprints at the lake the night he died. His and someone with high heels. Who was stashing high heels under the sink with a toothbrush? Miss Ashley Maran. Toby tells Spencer he gave the RV to A in exchange for info on Marion. We find out Marion was a patient at Radley, and the story is that she jumped from the roof, but Toby doesn't believe it. Mr. Durag thinks that Marion was perchance pushed instead of jumped off the roof at Radley. Later in the episode, Tippy just goes full Gossip Girl and starts spilling the tea, right? I'm going to do my Tippy voice. This is what Tippy says. Hey, board shorts. Did you miss me? So now the girls are like, now holds one. Who the fuck is board shorts? Is that the same as Beach Hottie? Remember Beach Hottie? Beach Hottie turned out to be Darren Wilden after it was revealed that Allison had a pregnancy scare with Darren Wilden in 2009 when she was 14. What the fuck? Get a job, stay away from her. The next thing I'm about to say is so shocking that you may want to, get under a table or stand in a doorframe. Spencer works out that the song Tippy is singing is a phone number dial tone and goes to tell the girls, but when they go back to record Tippy singing the phone number, my bestie Tippy has been stolen by A. It's so ridiculous, but it's also just so fun if you ignore how dumb it is. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to ignore it. Going to mention this before I forget. Ella is now dating Zach, who owns the brew, and they go live in Austria for a bit. In episode 3, Spencer is trying to work out where the Tippy phone number leads, but no one answers, right? So she goes on this reverse directory thing. And I absolutely love this because she's on this website for using a reverse directory, and it says 3,465,809 people have tried to look up a number today. 3 million reverse directory lookups in a day? I mean, how many phone calls are there? Full stop. Hannah goes to visit Pam at the police station. Do you remember that? I think I said that in part 1. Pam got a job at the police station. Good for her. She sees Holbrook's investigation board and all the people he's looking into regarding Wilden and Garrett's murders. It actually looks a lot like mine, but mine outslayed. We ship platinum. These bitches are shipping wood. Arya and Hannah are looking through some of Ali's things that Hannah managed to swipe during her Tippy meet and greet and finds a mask that looks like Allison with the name Hector Lime on it. Now, Hector Lime, this is a no. This is a They go to visit this Hector Lime flop, that's Mr. Sir down here. He's serving extreme creep and it looks like he lives in a swamp giving Shrek. Hector tells them that Allison wanted masks because she wanted all her friends to look like her. Huh? Her sociopath slay? Where is the Shane Dawson sociopath series for Allison De Laurentiis, huh? He also says that while Allison wanted masks made, she wanted the cast destroyed, and he says that he destroyed it. He did not. While Hector is telling Emily and Aria this, Hannah does some snooping and finds a Melissa mask. Are we still following everyone? Are we still following? Come on, we can do it. Speaking of Melissa, Melissa's back in town and acting suspicious. When is she not? More on her in the next episode. Now, while all of this is happening, in Season 4A, there is an overall motif that A is going after the mums. Ashley is being framed for Wilden's murder. Pam is being made to look like an abusive mother because A keeps calling family services on her. It's like a whole thing. Also, this is fun because Emily gets sent this picture and I love it because it reminds me of a picture I edited last year of Australian celebrity chef Donna Hay behind bars. You're not going to get context, so don't ask for it. Right, now back to the Toby shit. The annoying thing with the Toby plotline is that it actually does end up being important to the main story, so I just can't ignore it totally. Toby works out who his mother's doctor at Radley was and goes and visits him at an old person's home. Dr. Palmer is suffering from a form of dementia and tells Toby to tell his mother not to see the blonde girl anymore. Now, the blonde girl, it could be Alison, it could not be. Now Sparia, that is Spencer and Aria, come up with a plan to plant the Melissa mask in Melissa's luggage and see what she does. After seeing the mask, Melissa goes and confronts Hector and Aria and Spencer follow. Aria finds a shelf of Alison masks, so it proves that Hector lied about getting rid of the cast as Alison had asked him to. She also asks Hector why there were Melissa masks and he says Melissa also came looking for answers about the alley masks and he told her about them in exchange for a cast of her face. So it's essentially a red herring, as per usual. Also at Schrecter's swamp, Spencer confronts Melissa. This scene is big and full of plot holes. It's like a sponge cake. You know, a sponge cake is full of holes. This is a plot sponge cake. Melissa admits to being one of the Queen of Hearts, but says that Wilden was the one who tried to kill Spencer, and he tried to push Aria off the train in the box next to Garrett's dead body, and he killed Garrett. She says Wilden was blackmailing her, and he was working under the orders of someone else, which is A right here. Let's unpack this. It makes no fucking sense. In the Halloween train episode, we could hear a woman directing a man to push the box out of the train. Now, Melissa is saying that Wilden was the other Queen of Hearts and that he was forcing her to do it. Also, this means that in the box, Aria stabbed Wilden with a screwdriver. Where was that? Like, he was never limping around. Sir, you had tetanus. This man had tetanus. He was just running around doing police duties and then getting run over by a car. It truly is so messy, and saying like, oh, I was blackmailed into doing it. Like, that doesn't mean it's okay. The amount of times that happens in this show, like Lucas was like, I was blackmailed to be on the A-team. And he's the one that drugged Emily. And now Melissa's like, I was blackmailed into putting Aria in a box next to a dead body and trying to push off a train, okay? I'm guilt-free. Melissa also tells Spencer that she's been trying to protect her from the start and that she sent Jenna and Shana over to the lodge to find out who the girls were meeting because she thought it was Allison, and that Wilden showed up and started the fire. But how the fuck is this possible if Wilden was shot in Rosewood at the same time? Also, we find out later that the person who started the fire was actually Shana. Like, Shana confesses to it. So is Melissa lying to Spencer or the writers lying to us? I'm telling you, the lodge fire plot was a mess. Now, after this interaction, Melissa leaves town and goes to London. Good for her. Why isn't Aria angry or even remotely interested in the fact that Melissa put her in a box and tried to push her off a train? Like, the way this girlie just stops caring about the fact that she was almost killed. It's almost like she was in on it. She was not. But imagine if she was, that would have been iconic. Episode 5 is a treat. A puts bees in Ella's car and they attack her and we get B POV and she doesn't try to open the door. And later Aria says A gave her mum 4-wheel hive. Also in this episode, they work out that the area code for the Tippy phone number is in York County. So Emily and Spencer plan to go look at a nearby college to get more information. At the college, they go to a sorority party and see pictures of the house mother, Mrs. Grunwald. Now, Mrs. Grunwald, she's not seeing heaven. Absolutely not. She's a menace. Mrs. Grunwald had been fired, and one of the sorority sisters tells Emily and Spencer about how Grunwald would disappear for hours at a time and then reappear like she hadn't left the building. Like her sleigh. This next part is so ridiculous. Oh, my back is starting to hurt. My back hurts when I get to ridiculous plot points, okay? Spencer finds a hidden room with a phone in it. She calls Aria from the phone and it turns out it's the phone number that Tippy was singing. So that means the summer she disappeared, Allison was calling the person in the hidden room in this random sorority house in this random street at the random college in this random town. And it turns out that person was Mrs. Grunwald. Grunwaldsti, if you will. More on Grunwald later. In other news, Caleb finds out that Ashley took Ted's gun the night Wilden was murdered. Why do you need A gun. Hannah finds the gun in her mum's closet and tries to bury it in the woods, and A calls the police on her. Slay. Hannah is just the CEO of excellent decisions. Hannah is arrested and questioned by Tanner, who asks why 2 of the 6 bullets are missing before Hannah is bailed out by her parents. We find out Wilden was threatening Ashley and said if she gave him money he'd leave town, but she didn't have enough, so she took the gun to be safe. When she went to meet him that night, he took the gun from her and she ran off. So she did meet up with Wilden the night that he was murdered, and she wasn't in New York, she lied. Now in episode 6, Spencer and Toby follow up a Grunwald lead that takes them to, oh lord, I'm having a heart attack, Ravenswood. There are truly few things in this life that I hate more than the concept of Ravenswood. Of all the ridiculous shit that happens in this show, Ravenswood and its associated characters have to be the worst. When Spencer and Toby pull up to Ravenswood, right, there's this color filter over everything, and we're going to henceforth refer to this as the Ravenswood filter, and you're immediately just like, what the fuck is going on here? In Ravenswood, there are like no street signs, and no one responds to their questions. So it's like giving them weird vibe, because they're like, what's this town about? They see Grunwald in a hair salon and ask her about Allison, but she acts like she doesn't know what they're talking about. She'll be back later, don't worry. Oh my god. Okay. Then some weird music starts playing through the town, and everyone goes to stand in front of a statue in the cemetery, including who? Fucking Shauna. Why are you there? They try to chase Shauna, but she gets into Jenna's car and drives off. So they try to follow, and a bird flies into their windscreen and dies, and Shauna escapes. I'm not making any of this up. That's it for Ravenswood this episode, but don't worry. We'll be back in Ravenswood soon enough. Also, where is Shauna escaping to? The Brew to play violin at open mic night, of course. Instruments are for the girls, okay? Jenna owns the concept of the flute, and now Shauna owns the concept of the violin. At the end of episode 7, Tanner arrests Ashley for killing Wilden because it turns out her gun was used to kill Wilden and Ashley's fingerprints are on the bullets. Curve the bullet. Do you remember that movie? I think it's Angelina Jolie and she's like, curve the bullet. Caleb goes to Toby's house and they decide they're going to crack the case of Redcoat. Lads. They really thought they did something. They follow up a lead on the plane that Redcoat used to arrive at the lodge. But this whole plot is very long-winded. But basically they find out apparently CC Drake paid for the flight, which raises so many bloody questions. Also, now Ashley is fully in jail, like full on Orange is the New Black. She's wearing an orange jumpsuit. Also, at the end of this episode, A drives a car into Emily's house. Yes, that is correct. Pam and Emily aren't injured in this little crash moment, but the house is fucked. When it all happens, Pam is literally looking at the car as it drives through the window, but then the driver gets out and runs away before they get to see who it was. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, okay. In episode 8, the girls are like, right, that's it. Cece visited Mona in Radley and Cece chartered the plane to the lodge. She must be Redcoat. Hannah comes up with an absolutely terrible plan to confess to Wilden's murder so that Ashley doesn't go down for it. Spencer finds a case file connecting Wilden to Marion. Spencer and Toby find out that what Wilden wrote in his notes and what comes up in the incident report are completely different, so it implies that someone paid him to change what he wrote before it goes in the incident report. Almost like someone was paying Wilden to cover up Marion's murder. But who? Now remember Hannah's plan to confess to Wilden's murder. Well, at the end of the episode, Mona goes to the police and confesses to killing Wilden to prove to Hannah that she's on her side. Quick question. What happened with Wilden's police car turning up in the middle of the town? Are the police not like, first of all, why was the car in the lake? Second of all, who put the car in the town? In episode 9, we find out that Mona's confession has created enough doubt that the judge has to approve Ashley's bail, but the bail is set at $1 million. And it's suggested that Pastor Ted pays the bail. I think you have to pay like 10% of the bail. Pastor Tedsty? Where'd you get them dollars from? We see Shauna and Jenna whispering about Allison. They know I'm hiding something and that Shauna needs to work out where she is. Shauna and Jenna seem to think that Allison is alive and they know something about it, right? So the liars are like, now we need to do some digging into this. Paige throws a surprise birthday party for Emily at her aunt's lake house and invites the swim team, including Shauna, which means Jenna is there too. It's a package deal 2 for 1. The girls want to use this opportunity to find out what Jenna knows about Allison. At the party, there's a body floating face down in the lake, and Emily runs out, flips the body over, and it's Jenna. She's not dead or anything, okay? Calm down. Apparently, Jenna was hit on the back of the head and then pushed into the lake because of what she knew about Allison. In the hospital, Spencer asks Shana who Jenna is so afraid of, and Shana says C.C. Drake. Now, it truly is not looking good for our girl Slay Slay. She's chartering planes to the Lodge Fire, and Shana thinks that she tried to kill Jenna. Also, I'm pretty sure that the actress for Jenna, girl boss Temin Sursok, she's Australian, shout out to Temin, apparently she was pregnant during the scenes in which Jenna is unconscious in the lake. So she's doing all of that while pregnant. And where is her Oscar? Now it's giving story time. In episode 10, the girls aren't sure if they can trust what Shana is saying about Cece, because why would they trust Shana? She literally just came into the show talking shit straight away. So they decide that they're going to do their own Cece research, or C-search, to be more precise. Now remember that a car drove through Emily's house? Yes, it's being repaired. So she's staying at a motel, and Jessica offers for Emily to stay at the De Laurentiis house. She takes up the offer because it's a good opportunity to do some C-search. Mona is back in Radley post-fake confession, and Ren is back too, but he's acting super shady. Mona doesn't trust him and keeps referring to knowing where his loyalties lie, but we never really find out exactly what she means, and we later see Ren making some shady phone calls saying things like, "We have a problem. I'll take care of it on my end, you take care of it of yours." But overall, Ren's season 4 shadiness doesn't really go anywhere at all. This wig is so stiff that I reckon I could use it as a weapon. Stiff wear here. Oh my god, this is a doozy. We find out in episode 10 that Maggie lied to Ezra about being the father of Malcolm. Yes, ladies and ladies, that is correct. Maggie has been lying this entire time, taking bribe money from Diane, and this whole time, Ezra had nothing to do with this random 7-year-old child. So Maggie is truly on her scam shit, and Ezra is fucking fuming. But it's really weird, because he's like, "You're a rat and I hate you. But also, I still want to see Malcolm." And Maggie's like, what the fuck? No. "I only asked you to smack my ass like a drum." Now remember Emily staying in the De Laurentiis house. In the De Laurentiis house, a guy comes over to fix the heater and tells Mrs. De Laurentiis and Emily that they might have a bigger problem than a dodgy circuit breaker. Emily and Mrs. D go to the basement and discover that someone has been living there in the crawl space, and Emily notices that whoever it is has drilled holes into the basement ceiling, which means they can see who is walking around the house. Why was I whacking myself in the head? That really hurt. Now, there was an A scene a couple of episodes back that I didn't mention because it makes more sense here, but we saw Redcoat. Where is she? Where is she? Here she is. We saw her go under the De Laurentiis house, so we can assume that the person who was living in the crawl space and drilling holes in the ceiling is Redcoat. Episode 11 of season 4 is a mess, truly. It is called Bring Down the Hoe, and it's about a hoedown, like literally, like a Hannah Montana hoedown. Yes! Giving Joanne album cover. John Wayne. The fuck do you know about the Wild Wild West, huh? But this shit pisses me off for real. Because it's like, oh, Ashley is going to prison for killing a police officer. Also, Jenna nearly just got murdered. Next scene, Ari's doing a hoedown. Like I'm telling you, you don't need to do extreme sports in this day and age. You just need to put on Pretty Little Liars. Season 4, you get whiplash. If you ever wanted to take a screenshot of one of my videos as proof of where a master's degree gets you, now's the time. John Wayne. Also in episode 11, we have Aria and Emily doing more investigation of the crawl space, and while they're looking up at the holes in the ceiling, someone jams a knitting needle down, nearly stabbing Aria in the eye, and I wish they did. If the show was darker, they could actually do that kind of thing. Now back to screaming, because we see Cece for the first time since season 3. She's in a room filled with stacks of photos of Ali and the girls, and a red trench coat is over a chair, and she's on the phone saying to someone, "I sure as hell am not going back to Rosewood." What does it mean? What does it all mean? Is this proof that Cece is Redcoat? Does that mean that there is more than one Redcoat? Da-dum. At the hoedown, Hannah talks to a guy, where is he, called Travis, Mr. Sir right here. He tells her that Wilden paid his dad to tow the car out of the lake. So there's the answer that we were looking for from before. And he also saw Wilden talk to Ashley, and then he saw Ashley drive off and then heard gunshots and saw a blonde girl running off. So that means he is proof that Ashley didn't kill Wilden. Travis actually ends up being Hannah's boyfriend for a bit while Caleb runs off to Ravenswood. At the end of the episode, Aria goes to Ezra's apartment to talk about the Maggie situation, and we see that Cece is dressed in black at the door, eavesdropping on the conversation. If she's not A, then what the fuck is she doing? Like, I'm not going to put an A on her for that because it's not explicitly saying that she is A, but she's on thin ice. Also, in episode 11, Caleb says, hang on, let me check my notes, Giddy up, little doggy. Season 4 mid-season finale titled Now You See Me, Now You Don't. And this is episode 83 overall. Now, Ashley has been cleared of all charges after Travis identified her in a lineup, and the police released a sketch of the blonde woman seen leaving the scene of the crime. And it is Cece. Oh, I just bit my tongue. It's Cece Drake. Oh. So we're about 98% sure that Cece is the one that killed Wilden, but we're not sure why. A sends the girls a Mona doll in a casket, implying that Mona is going to be K-worded with quickness and haste. So they ring Radley, and apparently she isn't there anymore. Spencer goes to Ren's apartment, but it looks empty with moving boxes, but guess who is sneaking around? Shauna. Like, sure, why not? A sends them a magic box with the message, watch me make a girl disappear, kisses A. So like, right, we're gonna find a magic show, and what do you know? There's a magic show happening at the bane of my existence, Ravenswood. We're back in fucking Ravenswood. Meanwhile, Toby is staking out Mona's house in case Mona suddenly turns up, right? And he sees Shauna pull out of Mona's driveway in Jenna's car. So he starts to follow her. We later see that Shauna meets Mona at a bed and breakfast and gives her an envelope. Now, in Ravenswood, there's this annoying ass mime that picks Arya for a disappearing act. Look, if I was Arya, I would kick the mime. I would. I truly would just boot the mime. Something about the mimes just... What do you think you're serving, mime? Because I don't think you're serving what you thought you served. Now get this, okay? While Arya is doing the disappearing act on stage and everyone is distracted, Emily has been kidnapped. She's been snatched. Emily is snatched. They call Emily and she's in a coffin on a conveyor belt heading towards a saw. Besties, what the actual fuck is going on? How did A kidnap Emily in a crowd of people and no one noticed? How does Emily have no recollection of being put in a coffin on a conveyor belt? The girls see Redcoat running and follow her to the coffin saw warehouse and try to get Emily out, and it looks like she's about to get sliced by the saw. But then, let me move my bangs so I can read this properly. Redcoat stops the conveyor belt. The redcoat that presses the button runs off, but then they see another redcoat running up the stairs. So Spencer follows the first redcoat and Arya follows the second redcoat. Arya and Redcoat 2 have a karate battle, and Arya kicks off Redcoat 2's mask to reveal that it is Cece. Cece falls off a ledge and Arya tries to save her, but her sleeve rips and Cece falls about 2 floors-ish and she looks truly D-word. The girls go talk to Arya and they turn to look at Cece, but she's gone. Spencer says that Redcoat 1 was waiting for her to catch up, so she must be wanting them to see something. They follow Redcoat 1's breadcrumbs into an apartment. Now this reveal, truly one of the most iconic. They find an apartment full of pictures of Ali and the girls, timelines of each of their lives since Allison's disappearance, detailing every single thing that's happened. There's also a computer set up with police monitoring equipment, street light changing software, and monitoring software for their own house alarm systems. So it looks like this is A's new lair, and it's very sister spooky because it's implying that A has been keeping an extremely close eye on all of them. Hannah sees one of Allison's diaries and stashes it while the girls try and hack A's computer system, but they can't do it, so they call techno boy toy Caleb to come help, but he has to take the bus because Toby took his car to follow Shauna. Right? Keep up, everyone. Spencer finds details of A's bank accounts and sees that A has been paying Cece. This honestly makes my brain hurt, but we can't really talk about this until about 10 episodes time. They find a wardrobe full of men's suits, so it implies that A is a man. And they also see that the name of A's little finance company payroll shit is named after Allison's favourite beach in Cape May. So maybe A is board shorts. This is what I mean about not being able to skip details in this show. Because if I didn't mention Tippy the bird, we wouldn't have the Grunwald phone connection or the board shorts connection. Now this is juicy because in the lair, it looks like A has been tracking Allison too and has written down that Allison was at the lodge fire, and the girls are like, hold on. If Allison's alive, whose funeral did we go to? And they also see a poster for a World War I themed Ravenswood party. Like, Ravenswood girls, what are you up to? The girls in Ravenswood, I fear them, truly. A has written on the poster that Allison's going to be there, so the girls decide that they need to go too, but they need costumes, truly. So while they're looking for costumes, they run into Mrs. Grunwald. This girl boss, she's back. She owns Ravenswood. She is Ravenswood. Now, Grunwaldstein says that it's dangerous to look for Ali and tells Spencer that she lied about knowing Allison the first time they met because she's protecting Allison. Now, this next part, truly screaming and crying might get a chopstick and poke it into each of my eyes. Grunwald tells the girls that she is a psychic and Alison called her to try and work out who had been stalking her. She says, I have a gift of insight. Lady what? Now I'm going to get real close for this. She also says, the night Alison disappeared, I felt something terrible. So she drove to Alison's house and pulled Alison out of the grave. I do not endorse this behavior. This shit is so whack. The show up until this point has bent over backwards, trying to find a reasonable explanation for each little plot detail that they create. But then suddenly, a psychic old lady from Ravenswood turns up and she's like, oh, I had a bad feeling. So I went and pulled Alison out of the grave. What? Like what? I love this show so much, but that plotline just annoys me. Literally get any existing character to be the one that pulled Alison out of the grave. I'd even accept fucking Tippy the bird as the one that did it. Anyway, apparently, Grunwald took Alison to the hospital and Alison ran away. She also says that Alison doesn't want to be found and the girls need to leave Ravenswood because they're being watched, and he's hoping they will lead him to Alison. And she also says, he's here. The next scene is someone going into A's apartment and sees that the girls have been there and gets really mad, starts smashing shit, turns around, and the person is Chief Crust Lord himself, Ezra Fitz. So now it looks like Ezra Fitz is both A and board shorts. This reveal is actually one of my favorites of the entire show, but it gets so convoluted so we really can't talk about it yet, besties. You have no time to digest this information. Now episode 13 is season 4's Halloween episode and also acts as somewhat of a backdoor pilot for the Pretty Little Liars spin-off show Ravenswood. The events of this episode pick up directly after the little Grunwald conversation. The girls have their costumes and they go to the little World War I party, which is obviously happening in a graveyard because it's fucking Ravenswood. Caleb is on the bus to Ravenswood and meets a girl named Miranda who's also like foster child realness like Caleb. I'm just going to read this off my notes because it's just so far-fetched that you're not going to believe me unless it looks like I'm reading off something. At the graveyard party, the girls see Redcoat running into a tomb, so they chase her into the tomb, but she's not there anymore. Turns out there's a secret pathway to an underground crypt. Yes, we are still talking about Pretty Little Liars. In the crypt, there's like this massive wind and they're all holding hands when suddenly Hannah disappears, and Arya, who was previously holding Hannah's hand, turns around and instead of Hannah there is a random statue whose hand she's holding. Deep breaths, deep breaths. Hannah is running around the tunnels alone and finds a door which leads to an abandoned mansion. While this is all happening, the bus arrives in Ravenswood and Caleb says bye-bye to his new bestie Miranda, who goes to her uncle's house, which is actually the abandoned mansion Hannah is currently running around in. Hannah finds a phone booth in the mansion and goes in... Hannah finds a phone booth in the mansion and goes in to try and call for help, but gets locked in and is found by Miranda. Spencer, Arya and Emily find the mansion entrance and Spencer thinks she hears Alison, so she runs off to find her, but instead finds a man in a World War I gas mask who we can assume is Ezra/A/board shorts /flop of the century. Spencer and Gas Mask Steve have a fight and Spencer falls into something and is knocked out and he runs off. Hannah and Miranda exit Luigi's haunted mansion and meet up with Caleb in the graveyard when Miranda sees her name and face on a grave. And we're going to slide straight past that. Hannah tries to show them the secret crypt entrance, but the door is no longer there. Back in the McMansion, Arya and Emily find Spencer and they all think they hear Alison, but it turns out to be a recording and Grunwald is there telling that the recording is from one of their sessions. Grunwald tells the girls one of them has been touched by the one Alison fears most. Okay, lady, that's enough of you. The girls make it out of the house and meet up with Hannah and Caleb. Miranda says she needs to find out why she's on a gravestone, and Hannah tells Caleb to stay with Miranda and keep her safe. For what and why? You literally met this girl about 20 minutes ago when she let you out of the phone box in Luigi's haunted mansion that you got stuck in after following a secret path to an underground crypt after following your potentially undead murdered friend through a tomb. Now, at the end of the episode, Spencer's tires have been slashed or some shit, right? So Ezra turns up and he's like, girls, I'll give the lift back to Rosewood. They don't know that he's A yet. Now, this next scene gives me extreme chills. We've just persevered through this tragic and terrible, possibly the worst episode of TV that I've ever seen. We're about to get one of the best scenes of TV I've ever seen. After getting dropped off at Spencer's, the girls see Redcoat and chase her to Spencer's backyard, where she stands still, pulls down her hood, and turns around, and Redcoat is Alison de Laurentiis. Did you miss me? Yes, ladies and ladies. Alison de Laurentiis is alive. I will be taking that back, thank you. This is so iconic, are you joking? So yes, Allison turns around and says, "Did you miss me?" before seeing a flashlight of someone coming around towards the backyard, and she says she doesn't have much time, but that it's not safe for her to be in Rosewood. Spencer asks who she's so afraid of, and Allison says in like a roundabout way that she doesn't know, and for Hannah to remember what she told her in the hospital. Now this is really confusing because in that hospital scene, Allison told Hannah that she knows who A is, but she can't come back. But Allison doesn't actually know who A is. But then it's weird because she did know who A was at that point in time, but A that is now wasn't A then. But then they also pretend later that this A has been A since a very long time. It's just really confusing. The girls turn around and see Ezra come into the backyard with Arya's phone saying that she left it in his car. And they turn around and Allison has disappeared. So Ezra didn't see Allison. Now the last scene of the episode, truly we just went from the lowest of the lows to the highest of the highs, and now we're going right back down again, giving extreme roller coaster tycoon. That's so true though. Like Marlene and the girls, we're truly doing like roller coaster tycoon with our emotions with this show. The final scene is Caleb and Miranda walking in the graveyard, and Caleb sees his name and picture on a gravestone. Right, I can hear you screaming and crying, so we're going to address the iconic and the flop in this episode. Let's start with iconic. Allison DeLaurentis is alive. This has big implications, such as, does that mean Allison DeLaurentis is redcoat? Why are there two redcoats? If Cece Drake is the other redcoat, does that mean that Allison and Cece are working together or not? Now for the flop parts of that episode. Basically everything else. And when I said before that I hate Ravenswood, I absolutely meant it. Why go to all this effort of trying to make this show realistic and then suddenly in one episode introduce a psychic old lady that pulled Allison out of the grave, a haunted mansion, and Caleb and Miranda seeing themselves on gravestones. The reason why they did all of this is because this was the backdoor pilot for the spin-off show Ravenswood, which was cancelled after 10 episodes. Let's take an extremely quick and chaotic look at the plot of Ravenswood by reading this recap that I found. For those of you who skipped Ravenswood, the series followed Caleb as he explored a town that held the secrets of his troubled family history. While there, Caleb befriended 4 other teenagers, all of whom were victims of a pact their ancestors made with the devil so that Ravenswood would never suffer a loss of soldiers during a war. The pact sacrificed 5 teens from Ravenswood whenever a soldier came back from Ravenswood unharmed, and Caleb and his friends were next on the list to be offed. One interesting aspect of Ravenswood was that one of the 5 teens involved in the pact and Caleb's potential soulmate actually died in the first episode of the series. Miranda Collins drowned when the car carrying her and her 4 ill-fated friends drove off a bridge. Miranda appeared as a throughout the course of the short series and was able to communicate with her cursed friends. Me when I talk to my friends. My cursed friends. In the Ravenswood finale, the Pact Maker, aka the bad guy, wanted to bring Miranda back so that all 5 teens could die together, fulfilling the promise that their ancestors made years prior. Miranda's uncle stopped the Pact Maker from completing the task, but did say that Miranda could come back to life. Unfortunately, Ravenswood was cancelled before Miranda was brought back from the dead. So there were like multiple versions of these teenagers, and the town did a deal with the devil. And then one town over, the girls are like, oh my god guys, I just got a text. And like, I genuinely can't believe that Ravenswood got greenlit. Like, it went through all the levels and everyone's like, yeah, cool, this sounds like something people are gonna watch. And then Caleb comes back later, he's like, yeah, sorry, I was fighting demons, like literal demons. And Hannah's like, oh, slay. All right, back in the trenches with episode 85. Now that the girls know that Allison is alive, they want to do what they can to make the town safe so that Allison can come back. And they also want to find out who was buried in Allison's backyard because it wasn't Allison. We find out that the Mona and Shana interaction from episode 12 with the car was just Mona buying Jenna's car. All that for what? The liars are looking into girls that disappeared around the time Allison did, and they find a girl named Sarah Harvey that disappeared the same weekend, like one town over, and has blonde hair. Isn't that just so convenient? Also, I deliberately picked a bad picture of Sarah Harvey because I do not like I do not like this character. They decide to meet up with Sarah's friends and chat about what happened, but it largely goes nowhere for this season. It actually picks up in season 6. Toby has been doing some research and has found out that a company called Declodyne owns Radley, and he thinks that they paid to cover up his mother's death. Caleb is back in Rosewood, but not fully. It's just kind of visit vibes for now. He tells Hannah that the situation with Miranda is more complicated than he thought, and he has to go back to Ravenswood for longer. Ashley is struggling to find work post-prison. Remember that? Remember Ashley went to prison? So Jessica De Laurentiis offers her a job at the De Laurentiis real estate company. Hannah tells the girls that she stole one of Allie's diaries from A's lair, but held off telling them because it has some meaty stories in it. Ezra and Aria are kind of back together vibes again, even though Aria is still kind of with Jake. Ezra takes Aria to this little cottage in the woods that he apparently looks after for a friend, and he gives Aria a key. At the end of the episode, we see Ezra in the cottage pulling up a trapdoor to reveal a hidden basement. Now, why is no one talking about our girl Cece? Like, she just had this whole red coat conveyor belt situation with Emily in the coffin. Arya, kicked her in the face, and then she fell off a ledge and they thought she died, but she ran off, and she's also on A's payroll. But no one seems to care. They're all just like, so, what's on special at the brew today? Episode 15, I am well and truly over Toby. I don't know if Keegan Allen has suddenly forgotten how to act, or if it's because most of his scenes are with Troyan as Spencer, who is absolutely on her Oscars shit at the moment. So maybe that's making him look bad, but his scenes are a struggle. Anyway, he finds out that Marion was apparently on the roof when she fell, but there was another patient also on the roof, so Radley covered it up to protect this other patient's identity. Could it be the blonde person that the doctor referred to before? The girls follow up a potential lead as to where Allison has been staying, and on the way Emily's car breaks down, but they're close to Ezra's cabin. It's a whole thing. Aria has a key, so they go there. We find out from the diary that Hannah and Mike hooked up a couple of years prior. So that's fun. In Ezra's cabin, Hannah and Emily leave to find a signal to call Travis. Remember, Travis is tow truck guy, to come help them, and Spencer and Aria get locked in a room while someone steals the journal. The locking in the room just doesn't have the same impact anymore because Spencer got locked in a shower. In episode 16, some truly whack shit happens. Shana tells Emily that she has a message for her from Allison, which is, stop looking for me. Shana says she's been besties with Allison since day dot because she lived next to Allison's grandparents in Georgia. Emily asks Shana if that's correct, then why is Shana bestie vibes with Jenna? Because remember, Allison and Jenna are aunties. And Shana says that Jenna was on Allison's list of suspects for people that tried to kill her, so she asked Shana to get close. That means Shana is working for Allison. I hate that. This SpongeBob meme is truly how I feel. And this is a lot to digest, especially since we know that Shana was involved with the lodge fire, but we aren't sure in what capacity. Aria officially breaks up with Jake. Spencer discovers that Jessica De Laurentiis is on the board at Radley. Isn't that interesting? Around episode 17, I remembered that the girls are still at school, and that the events of the Halloween train were only about 2 weeks ago in PLL time. Also, Mona is dating Mike. Episode 17 is also where Spencer's downward spiral starts. She's falling behind on her schoolwork and asks Andrew for some of his ADHD medication, telling him it's for staying awake studying, but she's actually using it to stay awake decoding Allison's journal. Now this next bit is juicy. I keep it juicy. I eat that lunch. One of the stories she reads is Allison talking about going on dates with an older guy who liked literature and ordered beer with boysenberry pie. What a quirky combination, not like other girls or other boys or older men. Spencer works out the name of this place that Ellie used to go to meet up with this older guy as she goes to do some research. At the bar, she sees Ezra having beer with boysenberry pie and sees that the brand of the beer is Board Shorts Ale. That was me trying to do Inception, boom. I take it back. So that is confirmation that Ezra is board shorts and dated Allison when she was 14. He is a creep. C to the R to the EEP. He's a creep. While this is all happening, Hannah, who is in her crime novel era, has the idea to go to the Rosewood dentist and look at the dental records, because if she can find out who was there Labor Day weekend, that's when Allison disappeared, she might be able to work out who A is, because that person would have had to have been there to switch the dental records so that the body would have been incorrectly identified. This is a solid plan. It's also a really good plot point. At the dentist, Hannah is in the chair and the assistant leaves. So Hannah goes into the records room to steal the sign-in sheets, and when she gets back in the chair, someone comes in and she thinks it's the dentist, but it's actually A, and A puts her under anesthetic and steals the page from her bag. Later, Hannah wakes up and it's dark and she has really bad jaw pain as if someone had operated on her. She goes and meets up with the girls and tells them what happened. They look in her mouth, and Spencer pulls out a tiny roll of paper that was jammed into one of her teeth, and on it is a message that says, "I told you, dead girls can't smile. Stop looking, A." Like, that is truly so much effort from A's end, but I would actually kind of say that it was high investment, high reward, because the girls were truly gagged. A is absolutely working overtime to keep this town pressed, and I appreciate the effort. At the end of the episode, we see A shredding up the dental sign-in sheet and placing it in the cage of my bestie Tippy, television character of the century. In episode 18, Spencer's addiction to the ADHD medication is getting worse. Andrew doesn't have any more to give her, so she starts calling the doctor pretending to be Mrs. Hastings. At school, Ezra has noticed that Spencer is acting weird around him and her grades are slipping, so he goes looking in her file and finds she used to take ADHD medication. He puts the file in his bag. Felon. Stealing medical records of students from the school. Felon. Shana tells Emily that she was in Ren's apartment that one time because he put an ad out for someone to pack things up. Where did you come from? Where did you go? I think you went to London, actually. Spencer tells Emily and Hannah about her Ezra findings, but as a collective, they agree to not tell Arya until they have more solid evidence because they've been wrong before. A scares Shana by drugging her in her car, and when Shana wakes up, she destroys her phone and leaves Rosewood. She's sister spooked, okay? Actually, also in episode 18, Emily wears a shirt that says, "I'm allergic to mornings." Speak on it, Emily. So true. Episode 19 is an episode. There's truly room for everybody, let's just say that. I mean, at the end of the day, the dolls are the dolls, right? Episode 19 of season 4 is actually one of the lowest rated episodes of the entire show. Spencer is still going hard on the ADHD medication and she starts hallucinating, so the entire episode is a 1940s film noir themed dream that Spencer has, so like full on black and white. I think the team thought that this would be an extreme serve, but it wasn't, and I actually feel kind of bad. I really like the costumes and I think the concept is cool and they did a good job of executing it, but putting this episode at such a critical and crucial part of the story, there's so much intense stuff happening that suddenly a full dream film noir episode just takes you out and you're like, what am I watching? In episode 20, Ezra is Kylie Jenner realizing things, okay? And he's worked out that Spencer is onto him. He tells Arya that Spencer has a problem and is taking drugs. I really don't like the way that he kind of weaponizes Spencer's addiction to try and convince Arya and the squad that Spencer is delusional. The girls have a sort of intervention to confront Spencer about her drug addiction, and they're actually really shit friends in this episode. Lol, rename the show to Pretty Shit Friends. Like, Spencer is clearly absolutely going through it and they're being really nasty about it, implying that the Ezra theory is a byproduct of her addiction to the ADHD medication. Arya is kind of like, okay, whatever, but she still goes and does some little investigation at Ezra's cottage and she finds the trapdoor in the basement, but the basement is empty, but we're not done. She goes back into the cottage and finds a book with a manuscript inside. It turns out, are you listening, everyone? It turns out Ezra has been writing a book about Allison, like as in from the start, from when she disappeared. Arya starts freaking out and then hears that Ezra has pulled up skirt to the cottage. She runs into the woods and jumps on a ski lift that's also suddenly there. And he's caught up to her and is on the ski lift next to her as it takes off. Get a load of this shit. Ezra tells Arya that he dated Allison when he was at college and started writing a book about her after she disappeared. He also says he wanted to be a writer and writing a mystery novel about Allison and her friends was a step in that direction. This means he actually knew who Arya was before they met for the first time in the bar. Now, let's unpack the gravity of that situation. Ezra and underage Arya meet up in that bar and he acts like he doesn't know her age when they hooked up for the first time. And like, he literally tells Arya that he originally started dating her for research and then stopped writing the book when things got serious, as if that makes it okay. He also says that when he and Arya broke up and Arya was dating Jake, he went back to doing his research and discovered that Allison was alive. That lair with all the surveillance equipment on Arya and her friends and all the pictures of them and all that kind of shit, and it turns out he's just writing a book. Like, it makes it all okay. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm writing a book does not justify that lair. Even if he's not Ezra is a felon and he deserves prison. But not just a regular prison, I'm talking about the one in the tower on the island in Harry Potter. The only good thing about this situation is this visual of Arya crying on the ski lift. Lucy Hale was truly going for it in the acting department in this episode, and I'm very thankful and I'm very appreciative, so thank you, Lucy Hale. In episode 21, the girls are talking about the Ezra reveal and how he knew about A this whole time and did nothing to protect them because he was writing a book about it all. He really said, I will write this book at your expense. So Ezra is fully cancelled by the girls. For now, anyway. Spencer's parents have discovered that she's back in her drug addiction era, so they hire this guy called Dean to basically live in the barn and be her sobriety coach. It's a weird filler plotline, but it kind of gets across that Spencer gets better. Arya goes to Ezra's apartment to yell at him, but he's not there, and instead there's boxes of all the stuff from the lair, including photos of Arya before she even met Ezra. She finds one of his journals with all the secrets she's ever told him and all the notes he's made about them, and she goes feral and she trashes his apartment, as she should. The girls meet Arya at Ezra's apartment and Spencer takes some of Ezra's notes. She discovers that Ezra found out that Cece turned up at Alison's house the night she disappeared and witnessed a fight. We knew Cece was there, but we didn't know about the fight. This is when we find out that Spencer threatened Alison with a shovel in a flashback. Speaking of Cece, where the fuck is she? Also, the whole like A paid Cece thing that turns out to be Ezra paid Cece for information about the shovel and all that shit, I guess. But then does that mean that Cece knew that Ezra was writing a book and just didn't say anything about it? Also, Hannah kisses Holbrook as like a thank you for helping Travis with some court situation. I'm not going to get into it. But I guess now we can add him to the creepy Rosewood police officer roster. Emily tries to send money to Alison, but Paige works out what's happening and Emily tells her Alison's alive and needs help, but Paige tells Emily that she'll allow this one money exchange and then Emily has to cut Alison off. Emily says no. And at the end of this episode, we see Paige slipping an anonymous note saying Alison is alive into one of the police cars at the station. I liked this episode a lot now that I think about it. Actually, the run from episode 20 to 24, excluding 22, is really good. And it really cements season 4 as the best season. In terms of like building drama and flashbacks and reveals, they're all pretty solid. In episode 22, Arya confronts Ezra and tells him she never wants to see him again, and he tells her to read the manuscript he wrote because it might have information that could help them A, find Alison, and B, find out who she's afraid of. How very gracious of him to give Arya this information after having it for 3 years and they're going through all this turmoil, and he's just like, I'm gonna mind my business and write my little novel. Arya reads the manuscript and discovers that Ezra thinks that A is Jessica De Laurentiis. In episode 23, there is a shift in the universe because guess who's back? Ella. Ella has returned from her Austria trip with her barista boyfriend, remember that? Jason is also back and Spencer says that he's been gone for a few months when in actual fact he's been gone for like 3 weeks because it truly has only been 4 weeks-ish since the Halloween train episode and he fell down an elevator shaft a week after that. In episode 23, Jessica is hosting a charity bridal show, which is extremely random, but also at this point in the show, we welcome the bizarre plot lines. We then see Jessica and Ashley preparing this bridal event. Remember, Ashley works for the De Laurentiis family now, and Ashley goes to get something in the house, goes into Alison's room and sees that Jessica has bought a bag of clothes that would fit Alison, and she bought them the day before. So Ashley's like, things that make you go, Ashley wants the girls to model the wedding dresses for the show, and this is actually a perfect opportunity for them to do some digging at the De Laurentiis house. Also, the way that these girls are continuously living the model life, like we had that fashion show in season 2 and now we have a bridal fashion show in season 4. At the bridal show, Spencer sees Jessica in the bushes behind the house and it looks like she's giving a hidden person a suitcase, and Spencer tries to chase after the hidden person through the woods, and while running through the woods, the train on Spencer's dress gets stuck in a bear trap. I have not seen a bear or literally heard a single mention of a bear in these like 90 something episodes, but sure, I guess bears are a big problem in Rosewood. Ella tells Arya that she got engaged to her barista boyfriend, and while I like Ella, this plotline is just great gowns, beautiful gowns. Spencer can't find the hidden person in the woods and comes back to the girls crying and puffing, so they help her take the wedding dress corset off and they find that there are finger bones lining the corset and a message sewn inside that says, "What will you do when the rest of me comes out of the grave?" Anyways, also could she just not feel that at all? Literal bone corset. Emily breaks up with Paige over the ultimatumification of Alison's aliveness. Speaking of Alison, she calls Emily and says the girls need to come see her and gives them an address in New York. They go to the address and it looks like a warehouse and they're looking around for Alison and then they turn and see someone that makes them say, "What are you doing here?" Now the A scene for the end of episode 23 is A at a hotel and checking the sign-in book and seeing Cece's name and calling the police. This is truly so confusing. Okay, it is now time for the season 4 finale, episode 24, titled A is for Answers. This is a great episode. I'm telling you, amongst the flops, there are some absolute bangers. So the person that they all saw and they were like, what are you doing here? Turns out to be Noel Khan. Yes, apparently Noel Khan is working with Allison. This is more shocking to me than the fact that Allison is alive. Like, of all these characters, if you told me to pick two that were working with undead Allison, I would not have picked Shana and Noel. Noel takes them to an apartment to meet Allie. They ask why she trusts Noel and she says that he has secrets too. Okay, sure. Allison says that they have to work out everything that night, otherwise she has to go back into hiding forever. While all this is happening in New York, we see that Holbrook is interviewing Cece in a police interrogation room. It's regarding Wilden's murder, but she's well and truly giving them nothing. But she changes the subject and tells Holbrook that she knows who the girl in Allison's grave is, who killed the girl, and that it's the same person that Allison's afraid of now, and that Allison is alive, and that she can prove it. Back to Allison, a lot of this episode details the day she disappeared, so we're going to be looking at this over here. Also, important note, although we learn a lot about this night, there's actually a few details that we still don't know, and we get them around, I think, season 6. To start with, Allison is at Hilton Head with Ian, and Melissa comes in to confront Ian, and while they're fighting, Allison copies Ian's NAT videos off his laptop, which includes evidence of the Toby and Jenna step-sibling taboo relationship. She then leaves Hilton Head, presumably via plane, with Duncan to visit Jenna in hospital. Remember, at this point, Allison thinks that Jenna is A, so she's visiting her in the hospital to threaten her with the video. I think the timeline is actually a little bit messed up here, because if Allison only finds out about the Toby and Jenna thing here, then what was she blackmailing Toby with when she blinded Jenna and blames it on Toby? There are actually a few continuity errors with this day, but we're going to ignore them. While Allison's at the hospital, she gets an A text, so she crosses Jenna off the suspect list. That night, Allison stole some of her mother's sleeping pills and goes to meet the girls at the barn, where she drugs their drinks with the sleeping pills so that she can test if an A text comes through while they're asleep. It's fucked up, but it's actually such a good plan. So that's what we have here, the barn. I've also put this one here that says Allison's room, because remember season 2 and 3, we had those scenes of Ian, Garrett, Jenna, and Melissa in Allison's room looking for the NAT videos. In the season 4 finale, Allison doesn't explicitly mention when during the night this happens, so I'm going to put it here because that's where I think it is. After dragging the girls in the barn, Allison goes to meet Toby, as we know. After talking with Toby, he gives her his jacket, and Allison gets in a car with Ezra Fitz. So now we've flipped this card over. So after meeting up with Toby, she goes to meet up with Ezra in his car. Allison tells the girls that she met Ezra at a college party that she went to with Cece. Also in the flashback, the song that's playing at the party is Poker Face by Lady Gaga. Taste. Ezra is mad at Allison because he's found out that she's in high school and he won't see her anymore. Okay, crust lord, you're still crusty. After meeting Ezra, Allison met with Ian at the Kissing Rock and threatened him with the videos and to stop sending her texts, but he's not A either. After this, she went back to the barn and found an angry, drug-addicted Spencer. They have an argument and Spencer grabs a shovel, but she's all over the place and falls over, dropping her pills on the floor, and Allison sees. They make a pact that Allison won't tell anyone about Spencer's drug addiction. Now that's it for Spencer. She has no more involvement in this night. Now it's time for the next event. Allison meets up with Byron and threatens him and tries to blackmail him about the Meredith affair. Now this part's important. Allison's like, great, I haven't got any more texts. Maybe it's over. Maybe I've worked something out. Time to go home. And when she gets home, she sees Jessica De Laurentiis staring at her through the window just as someone hits Allison in the head with a rock while Jessica's watching. So here you can see that Allison's hit with the rock. Remember in season 2, they all thought that Allison was hit with a shovel. But it wasn't Allison's body in the grave. So the person that is in the grave is the one that was hit with a shovel. After being knocked unconscious with the rock, Allison wakes up to see her mother burying her alive in their backyard. This is so hectic and iconic. Are you actually joking? Allison says she couldn't speak, but she could hear her mother saying, "What have you done?" to the person that hit her. So this implies that Jessica is protecting the person that killed her daughter. Like, I'm screaming and yelling, truly. Next, we have the Grunwald stupidity, where she has a terrible feeling. She comes to Rosewood and pulls Allison out of the dirt. Grunwald takes Allison to the hospital, but Allison runs off. Guess who finds Allison walking down the street covered in dirt? I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Mona Vanderwall. This is so excellent. Oh my god, I love this show so much. Allison and Mona go to the Lost Woods Resort and give the name Vivian Darkbloom. Ba-pow. Mona suggests that Allison should let A think she's dead and just disappear. While Allison sleeps at the motel, we see Mona go next door to room number 1 and it's A's lair. The next day, Allison thanks Mona and gives her some tips on how to become popular and disappears. Allison says she was the person that pushed Ian off the bell tower in the season 1 finale. She was also at the season 3 finale lodge trying to protect the girls, and she pulled Hannah out, but she did not pull out Mona, Aria and Emily. Someone else did. Now while all this is happening and Allison is doing her little meet and greet Q&A with the girls, they see someone outside the apartment who starts shooting a literal fucking gun, and they run up the fire escape to the roof. Ezra shows up. Like out of fucking nowhere. Like, sir, how did you get here? Ezra shows up out of nowhere and fights the hooded person with the gun. The person jumps across to the next rooftop and runs off. But oh no, Ezra has been shot. Now for the final scene of season 4. Several thousand residents of Ravenswood stand before me, but I only have one photo in my hand. The final scene is someone dragging Jessica De Laurentiis' body across the ground, and then we see her being buried in a shallow grave. Oh my god. We love a full circle moment, right? She buried Allison and someone buried her. Truly iconic episode. Season 4 of Pretty Little Liars, that's history. Alrighty then, it's time for season 5, isn't it? Alrighty team, squadron, here we have season 5 in black string. I'm also in my A getup with my limited edition Rina Sawayama hat. Clock that quickly. Yeah, you're jealous. I know. Girls, I'm truly tired. Like, season 5 had less lines than season 4, but these lines, like, they had me putting in work. For example, this line here from Aria. Dun 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 to Shana. Like, come on now. But I can't not put it on. Episode 1 is titled Escape from New York with a capital A on escape, and it takes place pretty much immediately after the events on the rooftop. Ezra is sent to hospital in an ambulance and they do surgery on his stomach gunshot wound. They did surgery on a grape. Is he gonna make it? Obviously. Now the girls have a 3000 IQ strategy and it is as follows. Their plan is to distract A, so that A won't try and get Ezra while in surgery, since Ezra saw who the hooded person was before they shot him, so if he survives he can tell the girls who A is. Supposedly. The details of the little New York minute that the girls are having are largely inconsequential, but it's a great episode regardless. There's a flash mob. You know, everyone loves a flash mob. Well, they did. I actually hate flash mobs. But yes, I'll just tell you what you need to know and save you the extra details, because the flash mob just raises so many questions, and I simply don't have the bandwidth to answer those right now. Allison thinks Ezra was following A and that's how he turned up on the rooftops. There's a little explainer for you all. Back in Rosewood, Cece escapes custody. How? Your guess is as good as mine. Around about this time, there is some shady shit with girl boss Melissa, who has returned from London, but I'm not going to get into that now, but I will get into it before this video is done. Now, back in New York, I'm screaming and crying and throwing up, trying to work out how these girls are jumping so quickly between New York and Rosewood. Allison takes the girls to hide in the Fitzgerald Theatre that Ezra's family owns, and he used to take her there on dates. Weird. 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 I hate that you're getting a redeeming arc. Crust Lord. Should have died on the roof. When the girls are sleeping in the theatre, someone sneaks up and puts their hand over Allison's mouth, and it turns out to be, take a guess, anyone on the wall, Cece, who just escaped custody. Cece tells Allison that she needs help. Bro, what the fuck is going on? Allison and Cece go to a diner and meet up with Noel. Noel gives Cece Allison's fake passport and some money, and Cece leaves and Allison goes back to the theatre. In the theatre, Emily wakes up and she's like, bro, what the fuck? Where were you? And Allison tells her that she met up with Cece. Now get this. She also tells Emily that Cece was never Redcoat and dressed up as Redcoat in Ravenswood to distract A so Allison could save Emily from the saw. This is so confusing. This means that Allison is suggesting that Redcoat is not associated with A, but this isn't true, because we know Redcoat has been involved with all these A shenanigans and was present on grave digging night, because Mona said Redcoat was there and Mona was on the A team at that point in time, so then why would she be reporting to Redcoat if Redcoat wasn't on the A team? Allison tells Emily not to tell the other girls about the whole Cece thing and Cece escaping, because Cece apparently killed Wilden for Allison. Question mark, question mark, question mark. And if the police find Cece escaping with Allison's fake passport, then Allison will be an accessory to murder. How to get away with murder? Put a wig on. I just realized I haven't turned my lights on. In hospital, Ezra whispers something to Aria. Yes, Aria was at the hospital. She didn't go to the theatre with the rest of the girls. And Aria sprints out. At the theatre, the girls are like, right, let's make tracks and leave. But then the lights go out, and when they come back on, guess who's standing there in a black hoodie and holding a gun? Dun 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 dun. Shauna. I guess in a sense I'm a little bit Shauna cosplay right now. Shauna tells them that she lit the lodge on fire and tried to lock them in. Keep up everyone, it's literally so simple. Why are you so confused? The fucking lodge fire will haunt me until the end of this series. Shauna says that Allison sent her to Rosewood to do some digging, but while she was there she worked out how cooked Allison is and basically went from an Allison stan to an Allison hate page. She says that while investigating Jenna, she fell in love with Jenna and now wants revenge for what Allie and her friends did to her. At this point, I'm just like, Shauna girl, don't you have school? Like, at what point in the journey from shooting Ezra to trying to shoot 5 girls in the theater did you think, maybe I should just go home and do my homework? And like, why were you running errands for Allison in Rosewood like you didn't have school to attend? And the only connection between these two characters is that Allison's grandparents live next to Shauna in Georgia. Sorry, if my grandparents' neighbors asked me to do all this shit, I'd be like, no. Anyway, Aria arrives at the theater, sneaks up on Shauna and knocks her literally 1 meter down into an orchestra pit, and Shauna dies from the 1 meter fall. Matter in the orchestra pit. I need a cross. Where are my crosses? Oh, oh. It was bad for her. The girls are truly dropping like flies in this town. It's like Jessie J said, these girls fall like dominoes. We see Cece get on a plane to Paris, and we later see the New York police finding Shauna's body. I actually think this means 2 of the 4 girls are murderers at this point, because we have Aria murdering Shauna by pushing her into the orchestra pit, and then we had Emily killing Nate St. Germain / Lyndon James. And we nearly had a 3rd murderer because Spencer thought she killed the girl that was in Allison's grave, but no. In episode 2 we have all 5 of the girls, so the main 4 and Allison all back in Rosewood. They think Shauna was A, and because Shauna's dead that must mean that they are safe from all threats. They go straight to the police station with the intention of telling Holbrook everything, but when they get there, Allison flips the narrative and gets on her lying shit again and tells the police that she was kidnapped and held captive for 2 years. Now the rest of the girls are understandably like, what the fuck are you doing, you little demon? So Allison's in the police station telling her little lie and making up details such as her jumping from the kidnapper's car to escape when Kenneth arrives to see her, and he truly can't believe she's alive. But Jessica doesn't turn up to the police station, and they're like, that's weird. You don't even want to see your daughter come back from the dead 2 years later. She can't because she's dead. The girls go home and they are already having a hard time with Allison's lie, the new one, because they're thinking of questions that are difficult to navigate, such as, why is Ezra in the hospital? Did you know Allison was alive? We see Jason cleaning his car and throwing stuff away, which is really suspicious but amounts to nothing. Like, why waste the 30 seconds showing Jason cleaning his car if it's not important? Marlene bestie, Marlene-stie. There is so much going on that we don't need the red herrings. Allison shows the girls a text she got just before going into the station that says, the truth will bury you in a New York minute. We love Mary-Kate and Ashley Stan. And this text is why she lied. It looks like maybe A is not out of the picture, so she told these lies to protect Aria because she's a murderer. New character alert. New character alert. Pepe the dog. I fucking love Pepe the dog. This is my #1 bestie right here. Shout out to Pepe. A random woman shows up at the De Laurentiis house and she's like, Jessica De Laurentiis ordered this dog. And Jason's like, you better take that dog back to the shelter. And the lady's like, well, if he goes back, he's basically gonna D-word. So Allison's like, no, we will take him in. In my opinion, I would say that Pepe outsold Tippy, but feel free to tell me I'm wrong in the comments. The girls are now theorizing that Jason is the one that hit Allison with the rock, and that's why Jessica buried her, because she was protecting Jason. They find a draft email in Jessica's emails. Don't ask why they were going through it, the whole thing. It was written the night she went missing, and it says, I can't protect you anymore, but it doesn't have a recipient. Oh my god, also Allison goes to the mausoleum to visit whoever is actually buried in her grave, and she has an iconic interaction with Mona. Allison tells Mona that now she's back, she wants to start over again and they can be besties. And Mona tells her that she sent the New York Minute text and also says, you're gonna wish you stayed dead. Damn, Zaddy. Now at the end of the episode, the girls hear local icon Pepe barking up a storm in the backyard of the Hastings house, and they go and have a look, and Pepe has dug up Jessica De Laurentiis. I actually think this is the last time we see Pepe for the whole show. So he's introduced and he departs in the same episode. I think that's the real mystery here. What happened to local icon Pepe the dog? It's pretty funny actually, because you can tell the only reason Pepe is introduced is to dig up Jessica De Laurentiis. Sorry, I've degloved. I do feel really bad for Allison here because someone did try to kill her. She did go on the run for 2 years. She thought it was safe to come back, and her mother is dead. the night before she comes back, so she doesn't even get to see her. Here are some more fun things that I wrote down about episode 2. Tippy's empty cage is on the Renters' porch, and Allison says, "I'm not twerking through town." Also, can we quickly go back to the Grunwald shit? Like, this lady, she's suddenly all like, "I am psychic" vibes. This guy is in Ravenswood to track down Allison. He's here. It was Ezra, and he is creepy, but he's not A. So I think this lady is in her scammer bag. The gig is up, Grunwald. You're not getting away with this. In episode 3, Ezra is already back to walking around after just getting shot in the stomach, so that's great. Mona is plotting to make Allison's life suck when she comes back to school. Also, let's not forget that Allison was never actually dead. I don't know if the girls ever actually confront Mona about that. I would definitely be like, oh, not only did you stalk us for 2 years, but you also knew that our dead friend wasn't dead. Also, Shana and Noel knew, of all people. Next, we meet a new character, Sydney, who is a swimmer on the Rosewood High swim team and becomes friends with Emily. At this point, there's so much going on that I get kind of annoyed when a new character gets introduced because it just adds more to the plot, apart from Pepe the Icon, of course. Also, it's worth noting that with the reveal that Mona sent the New York Minute text to Allison, the girls think that Shana was A, because A didn't send the new text, Mona did, so they're like, okay, great. Back to normal. Hannah is having a mini meltdown remembering her hefty Hannah days and realizing that Mona kind of turned her into Allison after Allison's disappearance. To minimize her Allisonification, Hannah goes to the salon and gets black streaks in her hair. And I think this looks great. She actually looks similar to Miley Cyrus on that talk show like a week ago. Miley, we know where you got your inspiration. Also, the way this show is like all the girls used to have really intense secrets. Spencer was addicted to speed. Emily is gay. Aria slept with her teacher, and Hannah was fat. In episode 4, the Hastings are truly not giving me an appropriate level of stress to the fact that a dead body was dug up in their backyard. Like, she was your neighbour, you also had an affair with her. Why are you not more invested in this? Speaking of the backyard, Toby is out of town, thank God. So Spencer asks Andrew for help redoing the garden, and they find rat poison, and there's like a 3-episode arc of Spencer and Veronica thinking that Peter killed Jessica, but he didn't. Lucas is back at Rosewood after homeschooling since leaving the A-team, remember that? Allison has a police-requested medical exam, and BYO's Hannah. The doctor finds a big scar on her leg, and Allison says she got it falling out of her kidnapper's car, which we know is false. I wish the wound was from being stabbed with a screwdriver on the Halloween train. At the medical exam, Allison just tells lie after lie after lie, and later tells Hannah, learn this, and gives her a voice recorder that recorded everything she said at the exam. We find out that Jessica had a drug called losartan in her system, which is for high blood pressure, but she had low blood pressure, so this made her heart stop. Episode 5 of season 5 is episode 100 overall, so you know we're in for a treat. Jenna is back in Rosewood and mourning the death of her girlfriend Shana, and I feel really bad for Jenna. A, because she was blinded. B, because she was dating Garrett and Garrett was murdered. C, because someone tried to kill her and drown her in a lake. And D, because she was dating Shana and Shana was murdered. Also in episode 5, Allison is back at school. Veronica tells Spencer that she is divorcing Peter. Caleb is also back from Ravenswood, and guys, he's on ultra slay mode. He's got a new haircut and a bad boy aesthetic and giving very much not like the other girls, but he looks damaged. So what's the tea, Caleb? Hannah is shook that he's back and asking him all these questions, and he could literally not give less information. Allison and Mona have a confrontation in the church, and they're arguing about Allison being back, and Mona slaps Allison, and Allison slaps Mona back harder and cuts her. It's actually such an iconic scene. Of course, episode 100 is going to have some fan service. So Ezra and Aria have SEGGS. Also, Allison and Emily kiss. I'm rolling with the LGBT. Also, the way that Aria has just chosen to ignore all the weird shit that Ezra's done. Like, he took a bullet for her and suddenly she's like, yes. That's all you gotta do. Just gotta take a bullet for someone. Now, the end of episode 5 is an absolute doozy. Everyone is at Emily's house to watch a special report that reveals the girl buried in Allison's grave is Bethany Young, a Radley patient. Apparently, Bethany ran away the night Allison disappeared. Ooh. And then there's a big explosion and they're like, whoa, what was that? And they run out on the street and they see that the Kavanagh house has been blown up. At this point, all the girls get a text that says, did you miss me, bitches? A, with red text. So we know that A is well and truly back. Iconic shit. Claps for A, snaps for A, the whole lot. But why the Kavanagh house though? Because my girl Jenna, she's going through a lot as it is and she lives there. Couldn't you just blow up Emily's house? They're all in there anyway. They'd be more effective. Did you get the clicks, the views, and the engagement? Anyway, the police think it's a gas leak. Could they flop any harder? In episode 6, A sends Allison a video of Jessica being buried with the caption, "I buried your mum the same way I watched her bury you." A. Heavy. Miss Linda Turner is back on the case and she's asking some actually very good questions. "Hey Ezra, did you tell Shana about the theatre your family owns?" Or, "Hey Ezra, do you know why Shana had gun residue on her clothes when we found her body?" She's clearly suggesting that Ezra being shot and Shana's body being found are connected, because at this point in time, the police haven't linked the two. Andy Lamb is back and he gives the girls a treat. He gives them a picture that Bethany Young drew of Jessica De Laurentiis, and it's Jessica like watering a rose and there's this like scary monster about to eat her. Also, Allison is strangled by A in her house, but Emily turns up just in time and attacks A and they both escape. Aria volunteers at Radley to try and find some more Bethany info and find a link between Bethany and Jessica. There's a really interesting scene where Aria meets Eddie for the first time and he keeps acting like he's seen Aria before. He's like, "Are you sure you've never been here before?" Imagine if there was a plot line where it turned out Aria had actually been a Radley patient years prior. That'd be such a cool idea. I wonder if it happened. He could actually just be referencing when Aria came to visit Mona in season 3. Aria sets up an art class and lays out Bethany's drawings to see if anyone mentions it, and a patient named Rhonda says Aria stole it, and we later found out that Bethany was Rhonda's former roommate. Aria sneaks around Rhonda's room and finds more drawings which are very interesting. There's a picture of a woman falling next to a building. Does this mean that Bethany knew something about Marion's death? And it's also a picture of Jessica with horns and the word liar written next to her. Aria later talks to Rhonda, who says that Mrs. De Laurentiis used to sign Bethany out all the time to take her to the circus and to go horse riding. Spencer and Emily go to the stable in which this house was and they talk to the horse guy. What do you call the horse guy? The guy that looks after the horses? The horseman. The horse guy tells them that Jessica would try and get Bethany to call her Aunt Jessie, and one time Bethany got mad and threw a bucket at her. Also in the stables, Spencer gets kicked in the eye by a horse. Around episode 6 or 7, Hannah starts developing a drinking problem to cope with all the drama that has resulted from Allison's resurrection. She's back with techno boy toy Caleb, who has a drinking problem as well, and finally spills the beans about Ravenswood in episode 11. Caleb tells Hannah all the supernatural shit that he's been doing, and Hannah's like, okay, yep. Now backtracking a little bit to episode 8, Toby's back and he tells Spencer that he has enrolled in the police academy so that he can protect her. Ella's fiance Zach is a creep and flirts with Hannah, and Hannah tells Aria, and Aria has a really shitty response, basically saying that she doesn't believe Hannah and she thinks Hannah's just doing it all for attention. "Miss Aria, you're a killer, not Ezra's wife." What the fuck kind of friend response is that? His crustiness eventually comes out to Aria and Ella calls off the engagement. Caleb punches Zach for being inappropriate with Hannah. Also around this time, Allison is staying with Hannah because she doesn't want to stay at home because her mother was found buried in her neighbour's backyard. There's a scene where it's just Allison and Ashley at the Marin household and someone breaks in, but it turns out that Allison has paid Noel Khan to pretend to break in so that this will validate her kidnapper story, because she can say the kidnapper tried to break in. In episode 9, we have an excellent conversation between Hannah and Emily. Hannah says that Allison's taking over her room and even the doorknobs smell like her, and Emily says, "Why are you smelling the doorknobs?" Around about now, I'm reminiscing on how Ashley was in jail and how Allison had a dog for a day. Shout out to Pepe, hope you're doing well. The girls find out that Noel has been stashing proof that Allison was alive this whole time and on the run and not kidnapped, with the intention to use it as blackmail in case Allison turns on him. Spencer goes to the eye doctor for the horse kickification and sees Jenna enter the eye clinic with Sydney, so now we know that these two are bestie vibes. I'm deliberately kind of ignoring her at the moment. She's not really adding anything. It's just like, oh, you're a swimmer. Oh, you're friends with Emily. Oh, you're actually besties with Jenna. At the end of episode 9, the police catch the person who broke into the Marin household, and it's Cyrus Petrillo. And Cyrus also confesses to kidnapping Allison. But that didn't happen. In episode 10, we find out that Allison is in cahoots with Cyrus. She's been telling him to do all this to consolidate her story, and that by taking longer than the 48-hour window to tell the police if he's her kidnapper or not, they legally have to let him go. And he disappears. Allison is just deceiving and lying left and right, and it's not going well for her. And what's the moral of the story? If you're going to tell a lie, make sure it's really good. Allison tells the girls that she knows Cyrus and that he gave her the scar on her leg, but we later find out that that is also a lie. So what is the truth? There's also like a couple of episodes plot where Alison's lies are all coming out and the girls are like, shit, we can't trust her. And they decide that they're going to turn Alison into the police. And when they're going up to do it, they see an A message and like, oh shit. We can't. Also, Mona faints at choir auditions. Next, we get something extremely big and juicy. In episode 11, Melissa leaves to go to London again, I think this time permanently, but she leaves Spencer a recorded message so that Spencer knows the truth. In the message, Melissa says that she saw Spencer with the shovel arguing with Ali the night she went missing. We know this is fact. This has been corroborated several times. She later saw the body and assumed Spencer had killed Alison with the shovel, so she pushed the body into the gazebo grave that Alison had actually just been pulled out of by Grunwald and buried Bethany alive. So, Melissa Hastings is the one that buried Bethany alive. We don't know who hit Bethany with a shovel, but now we know that Melissa is the one that buried Bethany. That is just so explosive. That is such good storytelling. It's just so excellent. Melissa says that she now knows that it wasn't Alison and that everything she did was to protect Spencer. This is one of my absolute favorite plot points of the entire series. It means that from the start, Melissa has been acting weird because she thought Spencer killed Alison and she buried Alison. Meanwhile, we know that Mona and Mike are dating, and now there's drama because Ari doesn't approve and she's being a little savage about it. There's a scene where Mona tells Arya, maybe I should have just died when I fell off that stupid cliff. To which Arya responds, don't say that, Mona. Don't ever say that. And that is rich coming from Miss Girl, because let's quickly jump back 2 seasons. You're going to wish you broke your neck when you fell off that cliff. I like to think that that's Mona being ultra big brain slay and doing little level 10 Queen's Gambit plays to try and see if Arya remembers that she said that. Episode 12 of season 5 is the mid-season finale. Let's start by saying that Toby is in the police force now. Yes, he joined the academy in episode 8 and he is now a police officer in episode 12. The timeline here is like 2 weeks. It's giving very much he printed the certificate from policeacademy.com. Alison is at the police station taking a lie detector test, and the girls are capital S stressed about what lies she could possibly be telling this time and the possibility that she's about to throw them under the bus. Mona tells the girls that she thinks Alison is A. Say what? They later hack the recording and say that Alison told the police things such as Spencer was angry and Spencer dropped her pills. But none of the answers are actually incriminating, but based on what she says, Alison is no longer a person of interest for Bethany's murder, but Spencer Hastings is. Spencer and Mona break into Radley to try and see if there's a connection between Bethany and Alison. We find out from a recording that Bethany was mad at Jessica because Jessica was having an affair with Bethany's father. Caleb says to Mona, and I quote, "Your software slays, by the way." I like the scenes of the liars plus Mona having their little espionage kiki. I think it's just because I love Mona. In the next episode, we find out that Alison had actually been writing letters to Bethany and also invited her to Rosewood Labor Day weekend, which is when Alison disappeared and Bethany was murdered. Wig. No, literally wig. Also, Toby breaks his leg, but literally who cares? What else? Spencer is arrested for Bethany's murder and, oh, that's right, Mona dies. Next to the power of A. Hannah, Ari, and Ezra go to Mona's house to hear what else has been found. Ari, Bethany, Jessica, and Ali, and they enter and see blood everywhere. And it is Mona's blood because it gets tested later, and it is Mona's blood splattered everywhere around the house. No body is found in the house, but we see Mona's lifeless body in the back of A's car. Like, I'm sorry, the collapse. Not my bestie, not X to the power of A. She doesn't deserve that. Yes, she did some shady shit, but she was justified in everything that she did. She's a criminal, but she's my bestie. It truly is just a cycle of death in this town. If I was a citizen of Rosewood, I would simply just leave. Episode 13 is truly an astronomical mess. Usually episode 13 of a season is the Halloween episode, but since season 3 Halloween, only 2 months have passed. So instead of it being Halloween theme, this episode is Christmas theme. Anyway, so Mona is dead. Spencer is out on bail for Bethany's murder. 3 things to know about this episode, right? This picture. What the actual fuck? They're just all like on the stairs, like, excuse me, that's your literal English teacher / stalker. This is so ridiculous to me, and every time I rewatch it and see it, I need to go calm down and play Fortnite or something because it truly makes me so mad. Second thing, in this episode, there's a massive party, and apparently it's thrown by the De Laurentiis family, and I'm like, who? Jessica's dead. Kenneth is a flop. Jason's MIA, and Alison is 17. At the party, Alison covertly meets up with, drumroll please, Cece, girl, if you don't stay in Paris. Oh my god, guys, did Cece in Paris get cancelled? Apparently, Allison asked her to come because it's her first Christmas without Jessica, but I'm absolutely not buying it. The third thing I wanted to mention is that A writes Merry Christmas bitches in lights. No further questions at this time. I don't want to talk about this episode anymore. It is a touchy subject for me. So now we're kind of just flopping around from episode 14 to the dollhouse. I'm going to tell you the absolute bare minimum what you need to know so that we can get to the dollhouse quicker. Episode 14 has a time jump, which I think is about 5 months, and we see Mona's funeral, but there's no body, and also Mona's mum slaps Allison. Hannah meets Grunwald to get information on where Mona's body is, and Grunwald says Mona is surrounded by earth, insects, and cold. Gee, thanks, Grunwaldstein. Spencer and Emily find a camera in Mona's house that has footage of someone in a black hood and long blonde hair attacking Mona. We can't see the person's face. Allison is arrested for Mona's murder and is under suspicion for Bethany's murder. So now Spencer is off the hook. Allison now begins her prison era. Now the liars are once again convinced that Allison is A, and she must have someone on the outside working for her. Out of nowhere, Detective Holbrook is suddenly a creep, so the girls think that he's the one that's been helping Allison. Also, it turns out he kissed Allison at the whack Christmas party, honestly. Turns out Hannah did really good on her exams and got into a bunch of really good universities, so that's good for her. Toby finds a knife in the woods behind Mona's house, and it's Caleb's knife, and they think that A is trying to frame him, so Spencer and Caleb try to burn the knife in a giant walk-in kiln that the high school randomly has, and Caleb gets locked in the fucking kiln and nearly dies. Moving right along from the fact that Caleb gets locked in a giant walk-in kiln, Ashley sleeps with Jason. In the next episode, Ted proposes to Ashley. Yikes. In episode 16, Aria gets a threat from A on a receipt. Gotta give points for creativity. Spencer gets a GPS ping from Mona's stolen laptop and goes with Caleb to look, and they find it in a storage facility with other things such as Mona's bloodied clothes and a suspicious barrel that they think Mona's body might be in. They don't open the barrel and they leave because they don't want their DNA to be found in this storage locker, so then they would be linked to what's found in the storage locker. Now, Techno Boy Toy Caleb, he does some hacking and he discovers the name of the person who the storage locker is assigned to. The person is Hannah Marin. Episode 17 is titled The Bin of Sin. Hannah goes stupid mode and decides she's going to try and destroy all the evidence in the locker, even though it may constitute evidence tampering. But when she and Caleb go back to the storage locker, everything except the barrel is gone. Tana gets an anonymous tip to go investigate the storage locker, and she sees Hannah and Caleb in passing, and when she looks at the barrel, she sees a drop of blood nearby. She's like, that's suspicious, that's weird. Also, Aria and Spencer get locked in an industrial freezer and nearly freeze to death. We love the juxtaposition of Caleb nearly burning to death in a walk-in furnace, and then Aria and Spencer nearly freezing to death in a walk-in freezer 2 episodes later. Around episode 18, I'm thinking 3 things. Where's Pepe? Why is no one looking for Cece? And why is no one chasing up the link between Bethany and Marion? Because that seems important. Holbrook gets suspended for being crusty. Oh my god, this next part. Okay. There's a 5-episode arc of Mike acting shady, visiting Allison in prison and carrying around vials of Mona's blood, so the girls move the suspicion of Allison's helper from Holbrook to Mike. Their strike rate with these accusations is truly so bad. I feel like at some point they suspect everyone on this wall, including fucking Tippy the bird. Wait, oh my god, that actually is so true. Literally, like, almost every person on here besides the mums they have thought is A at some point. Now the blood that Tanner found near the barrel is taken for tests, and it turns out to be Allison's blood. Aria is flopping academically, so she starts doing tutoring with Andrew. There's a lot of scenes of Mike up to mischief and the girls chasing him around, and also Andrew's there because he's the only one available with a car, so that's how he gets integrated into the main scenes. We see A putting droplets of blood over Mona's bloodied clothes from the storage locker, and it turns out they're putting Hannah's blood on them. Girl, you better run. While this is happening, Hannah enrolls in a beauty pageant to win $20,000 for college, and we get this scene of Hannah and Emily dancing to Bang Bang. The actor for Mike is not giving the slay that he thinks he's giving. I think he's going for Troy and Belisario season 3 breakdown Oscars, but he's not really reaching that level. I would say he's kind of instead giving Toby instant policeman. In episode 20, Mike finally reveals what's going on. He says that Mona had a refrigerator of her own blood and was taking bit by bit, which is why she fainted that time at choir practice. Mona told him she had a chance to find out who A was, and her plan was this: cover the house in blood, Make Allison look guilty so she goes to prison, which is what A wants. This would earn A's trust. After her fake death and finding out who A is, she would come back to town, which means Allison would be let out of prison. Mike says he's worried because Mona was supposed to meet him a couple of times, but she never showed up, so he's trying to find out where she is, or if A double-crossed her double-cross and killed her. Now hold on a second, bring the beat back. This means Mike knows about A. So we have Mike and Byron both knowing about A. Episode 21 is Juicy Boots. The girls now know that Allison didn't kill Mona, and they're like, right, we gotta get Allison out of jail. Spencer goes to London for an interview with Oxford University, and it goes terribly because A puts vials of blood in Spencer's carry-on and they smash during the interview. There's also this absolutely infuriating character called Colin. Like, if he were real, I would punch him. I have like 3 people on my punch list. I'm not going to tell you who they are because one of them's a politician. Aria finds out that Mike met up with Cyrus to try and get information, and Cyrus told Mike that A paid him to set Allison up. So Aria and Hannah track down the garage that Cyrus works at, and they find out that he's in hospital for full body burns. They ask him who did it to him, and he writes down the name Varjak. Spencer gets a text that says, keep calm, but what's your carry-on? Come on, literature. That's a good one, eh? Aria is still having interactions with Andrew, but he's just kind of like around the plot, and they have a little kissy kiss around episode 22. Also in episode 22, the police find the bloody Mona clothes with traces of Hannah's blood on them, and Hannah is arrested for being Allison's accomplice. Now this is a double gas because now 2 of the girls are in prison, and also Hannah and her mum have both been in prison. The amount of people in this town that are either dead or have been in jail or have been like shot or stabbed is so funny. Ezra and Aria break up for the 702nd time. In episode 23, the remaining non-imprisoned girls, there's only 3 of them at this point. They do another scan of Mona's room to see if they can find anything else of use to work out who took Mona and who is framing Allison and Hannah. They find a piece of paper with 3 phrases written on it. Chandelier's rituals, sister launched lair, a ruler's list chained. If you're watching this and you've never seen Pretty Little Liars, why don't you have a little go at trying to work out what those things mean? In episode 24, A sends Mike a cow tongue. This is to intimidate him so that he doesn't tell the court what he knows are Mona's plans. Maybe just send the text, you know, they're going to listen. You don't need to send a tongue. If you keep raising the bar like that, how high can you go? You can go to the dollhouse. At the end of episode 24, Allison is pronounced guilty of manslaughter in the 1st degree. It is bad for her. As Allison's walking out of the courthouse, Tanner orders that Emily, Spencer, and Aria also be arrested for being accessories to Mona's murder. Okay, everybody, I'm going to need you all to take a deep breath because it is now time to discuss the dollhouse. This is what I've been most excited to talk about. The Dollhouse episodes are so fucking fantastic. Episodes 120 and 121 are the highest rated episodes in the entire series. So episode 120 is the season 5 finale, and it is titled Welcome to the Dollhouse. Having been arrested, Aria, Spencer, and Emily are now in a prison transport van with Hannah because all of them are being separated from Allison and being sent to a different prison. The transport van crashes, and someone in a black hood yanks open the van door and shoots in a gas cylinder, making them faint. The girls wake up in their rooms. Sorry, what? We were just in a van. Why are we in our rooms? It looks like their rooms, except all the furniture is replica furniture. The doors are all locked, the windows open to concrete, and there's security cameras on the ceiling. The girls are in a life-size dollhouse. A voice comes over the speaker and says, "Welcome, willkommen, bienvenido." Why did I eat that up? Come on now. And the voice tells them to exit their rooms and follow the lighted path. The doors unlock and they find themselves in a hallway that is attached to all 4 of their rooms. Now we could start screaming and crying about how the fuck 8 built this underground bunker dollhouse replica, but we are choosing to ignore that and enjoy this award-winning cinema. They walk down the hall and find a replica of Allison's living room, and Allison is sitting at the piano, except it's not Allison, it's Mona with blonde hair. My bestie is alive. What you slay? The girls are all like, Mona! And she's all like, no, I'm Allison. She's pretending to be Allison and she's not breaking character no matter what they say. And then there's 4 charms that come through the speaker, and she takes them to a room and she says 4 charms means it's game time. The girls flip out like, we're not playing this game, and they see the camera and they're like, there's 5 of us and 1 of you. But then an extremely loud siren goes off and Mona says it only turns off if we go back to our rooms. We get some scenes of Caleb, Toby, and Ezra lads trying to work out who hijacked the van, but honestly, who cares? Take me back to the dollhouse. The girls are sleeping in their pseudo rooms, and Mona runs in and she's like, we have 3 minutes. She says the generator goes down every night, and for 3 minutes, there's no electricity and no security cameras, so A can't see or hear what they're doing for 3 minutes. Mona says she's run in every direction for 90 seconds and found one path that leads to a silo, and she thinks it's the way out, but she's never got to the top in time, and the other direction has a vault, but she doesn't know what's in it or beyond it. Now, Mona also says that if you don't make it back in time, that A will leave you without food or water and blast the siren continuously for days. Ugh, I'm so glad to have girl boss Mona back. She's the best. Mona says that A wants her to be Allison, so she's going along with it to make A think that she's broken Mona, but Mona has not been broken. After their little midnight rendezvous, the 3 minutes is up, so they all go back to their rooms. Meanwhile, Peter and Veronica visit Allison in jail, and they're saying things like, where the fuck are the girls? And Allison says that she doesn't know, and she also tells them about A, which is pretty huge. Peter and Veronica are like, Mona is dead? And she was A like 2 years ago. Get over it. And Allison's like, there's a new A, you flops. Back in the dollhouse, Spencer remembers that she saw some letter blocks in the games room and she arranges them in her head and they spell out Charles. So that means A is Charles. But who is Charles? A directs the girls to a big room with prom supplies and they realize that they're setting up for a prom, but not theirs because the music choices are all 7 years old. Including Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield, which is very iconic. Spencer comes up with a plan that involves setting up the fake prom to be ready for an electrical overload that they trigger by using a camera she and Mona can rig up from the supplies. It's a whole thing. But if it all goes to plan, then the power will go out for a few minutes and they can all escape through the silo. Veronica and Peter meet up with the lads, Caleb, Toby and Ezra, and now they are all aware of A and they're all tracking down the girls. Also, while this is happening, we see Andrew sitting in his car tapping Veronica's phone calls. Can we not talk about that? Caleb and the Hastings convince Tanner to allow him to use the Rosewood police system to track the van and he finds the location. Meanwhile, the girls have set up the fake prom and they are there in the prom dresses that A has selected for them. Now, A has put mannequins all around this fake prom. Spencer yells out that Charles should be crowned prom king and he walks out from among the mannequins wearing a mask, and Aria uses the special camera Spencer and Mona built and the power goes out. Meanwhile, Tanner and the police find the van, which is outside what? The Campbell farm, as in Andrew Campbell. At the farm there's a barn, in the barn there's a basement. In the basement they find all these computers and surveillance equipment that shows the girls in the dollhouse, including Mona, so now they know Mona's alive. Now with the power out, the girls are running around the dollhouse. Spencer finds the vault, which has all kinds of childhood shit in it, including a projector that has a video of Jessica De Laurentiis at the Campbell farm with 2 little boys and a baby girl, and Jessica tells the boys to kiss their sister. So that means there was a 3rd De Laurentiis child. Now back in present day, the girls go up the silo and they escape. They open the door. It's a fenced area. The power comes back online. It's an electric fence. The camera zooms out and we see that they're absolutely in the middle of nowhere in a giant forest. Gagged, truly gagged. This episode was the serve that was requested and Marlene signed, sealed and delivered it. Let's go straight into season 6 episode 1 because that's Dollhouse part 2. The season 6 premiere is titled Game On Charles. We see the ending of episode 120 again of the girls escaping the dollhouse, but this time we see that they ran past a room with a blonde girl dressed in Allison's yellow top, and this girl looks busted. Like she's been there for months and or years. Anyway, so the girls are in that outside area with the electric fence. A shuts the door and they're trapped out there for days. We see this montage. It's like day, night. No food, no water, raining, sunshine, giving very much Bella in that one scene in that chair in Twilight New Moon. If you know, you know. The doors finally open again. They go down the silo and walking down the hall, and Charles throws a gas canister and knocks them all out again. Spencer, Aria, Hannah and Emily wake up in a model morgue on those metal tables with white sheets over them. Mona comes in and they hear 3 charms, and she says 3 charms means they have to go to their rooms immediately or else he will put you in the hole. We see them go into their rooms and we hear them scream, but we don't know what at. And then there's a 3-week time jump. Allison is at a press conference at her house and we find out that her guilty verdict has been overturned because remember Tanner saw on the surveillance monitors that Mona is actually alive in the dollhouse. We also find out that Andrew has disappeared and is now the prime suspect for the kidnapping of the 4 girls and Mona. Allison, Caleb and Ezra have a plan to lure A to the kissing rock using Allie and then track where A takes her using some GPS shoes that Caleb has made for Allie. I could slay some GPS shoes. Back in the dollhouse, the voice comes back again and tells the girls to prepare for Allison's arrival. So the girls are like, shit, if real Allison's coming, then A doesn't need fake Allison, which is Mona. So does that mean A's gonna kill Mona? We find out that Mona is in the hole. Now free my bestie, I'm not playing around. It's upsetting to me and my homegirl. If you can't go to the dollhouse, where the hell could you go? Now remember, the squad had that elaborate plan. Allison goes to the kissing rock and no one is there, but there's a car. So she gets in and follows the GPS to a national park and then has to get changed using the clothes in the boot, including the crusty yellow top. So Ezra and Caleb, who are tracking her shoe GPS, find the abandoned car and her clothes. In the dollhouse, Elite Supreme Girl Boss Spencer has worked out that those weird phrases they found in Mona's room that time are actually anagrams that spell out Charles de Laurentiis. And she comes up with a plan to use Charles's prized possessions in the vault to leverage their way out. The girls go to the games room and find a secret passage to the vault and start lighting shit on fire, and Charles freaks out. Caleb and Ezra find Allison in the woods. Charles rushes down to the vault with a gas mask on and turns the emergency sprinklers on. The girls find Mona in the hole and pull her out and start going to the exit. Ezra, Caleb and Allison see smoke coming out of a vent and hear the fire alarm and find a door into the dollhouse in the woods and open it, and the girls come tumbling out. The police arrive. Charles has escaped. The police bring that crusty blonde girl out of the dollhouse, and it turns out it's Sarah Harvey, who disappeared the same weekend that Allison did. So that means Sarah Harvey has potentially been in the dollhouse for nearly 3 years. Yeah, I mean, the timeline is kind of cooked because New A only took over after Mona went to Radley, so... But anyway, ignoring that, when I said the Dollhouse episodes slayed the world, I wasn't joking. This is so ridiculously iconic, and even if you don't go and watch the whole show, I hope you go and watch episodes 120 and 121 at least. It should be taught in schools. It should be compulsory for everyone to watch the Dollhouse episodes once a year on International Dollhouse Day. Actually, yes, I'm officially proposing International Dollhouse Day. So with that, we've finished episode 120 and 121. So this is the state of play after 5 seasons of Pretty Little Liars. The way I thought this would be easier than part 1, but it ended up being twice as difficult. Part 3 is season 6 and 7, which is 39 episodes, so technically a lot less work than part 1 and part 2. But yeah, the best place for updates is on my Instagram. Can you believe it? We've made it to the end of the second part. If you enjoyed this, feel free to leave me a like and leave me a comment. It actually helps out a lot. Feel free to subscribe as well. Slay, 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 slay. And I'll talk to you all soon. Peace out. Bye.